So hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Sasuke was a girl and married Naruto. Part 1. If you guys enjoy this, what if? And if you want part 2, comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content. And leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends. And check out the description. And check out my playlist. So let's start the video. Chapter 1. Naruto's life was almost perfect at this point. They had won the war. Madara had been defeated. Suki was no longer a criminal ninja, and Naruto was very close to achieving his dream of becoming Hokage. Kakashi had chosen him to be his successor. So what was missing? Well, more like who was missing. Suki. She'd gone on a journey of redemption. He'd asked to go with her, but she had told him, "You have nothing to do with my sins." Then for God knows what reason, she flicked his forehead and walked off. That was almost 3 years ago. "Hey Kakashi-sensei. Sakura said you wanted to see me." Naruto heads into the silver-haired Hokage's office. "Yes. You might want to sit down for this." Kakashi shakes his head. "That's bad?" Naruto questions. "Well, I'm not sure that it's so bad." Unexpected. The sixth Hokage sighs as he looks anywhere but at Naruto. What's going on? Naruto was starting to get nervous. Well, the good news is Suki is back. She's fine, physically. Emotionally, well, that's another story. He replies. What's wrong with her? Naruto demands to know. The council is forcing her hand. I argued on her behalf, of course, but they are still rather uneasy about the thought of her returning to the village. The fact that she did a lot of good while traveling does help. It's not enough to reassure them that she's not going to become a female Madara later down the line though. Kakashi continues. So what happened? Are they seriously kicking her out of the village? She helped to save the world. Naruto growls. No, they aren't kicking her out. They are giving her an option. They want insurance that if she snaps, someone will be able to stop her. As you are the only person that we know of who can match her in battle. That person would be you. His former sensei sighs. I don't get it. So they want me to babysit her or something? He asks in confusion. I suppose you could look at it that way. They want you to be with her at all times. If she is to get a full pardon and be accepted back into the village, she has to marry. They want her to marry you. As her husband, you would be living with her. You could watch her. They'd feel safer. He states. You're joking, right? The blue-eyed man inquires cautiously. I'm not. They are also rather fearful about the possibility of her restoring her clan. I suppose they figure you two are far more likely to kill each other than to make babies. So that's another factor. He adds as an afterthought. They want me to marry Suki. So she won't have kids, Naruto snarls. That is one of the major factors, yes. Unfortunately, it's out of my hands. You can both refuse, but she won't be allowed back into the village. They will also take her to trial at an international court and likely have her executed. They fear her that much. He frowns at the very thought. So if I don't marry her, they are basically going to try to kill her. The blonde seethes with rage, his eyes bleed red, his teeth take on a menacing sharpness, and the violent chakra of Kurama surrounds him. That's about the size of it, I'm afraid. If it went to trial, I would argue for her, and so would many of the people she helped on her journey. There's a chance we could prevent an execution, but she would still be exiled. It's unlikely that other ninja villages would risk taking her in. So her official career as a ninja would be over. He further explains. This isn't right. She's been doing so much better. She helped people. Now they want to kill her or deny her the possibility of having a family. If it wasn't for her, they'd all be dead. Naruto was practically screaming now. I know that. They know that, but yelling isn't going to change anything. Kakashi tells him. Does she know? The future Hokage looks at Kakashi. She knows. The other man nods. And the village is still in one piece. Naruto couldn't believe this. Naruto had a hard time imagining that she had taken the news so well. This was Suki. She had a temper that could literally level mountains. He knew that if he was in her place right now, fur would be flying. Yes. She's been restrained for the time being. She's immune to most poisons, but not to chakra blockers. Kakashi explains. They darted her with chakra blockers, is she okay? Naruto demands to know. Naruto twitches. This was getting worse and worse. Bad enough they threatened her with a choice between her life and freedom, now they were drugging her. What was wrong with these people? She's fine. Well, as much as can be expected given the circumstances. Kakashi replies. I want to see her now. Where is she? The younger man asks. She's at the academy. The kids are already out of school and Iruka wouldn't be there this late in the evening. She's waiting for you. I told her that I was going to let you know about all of this. The council didn't mind her going to the academy since she can't use her chakra right now and as I said, no one else is there at this hour. The silver-haired man explains. Thanks. Naruto races off towards the academy. Suki sighs at the academy. The brunette had found her old desk and sat down in it. It was funny, after all these years she still remembered exactly where she sat that day. Suki had been minding her own business. Today was supposedly an important day. It was the day their teams would be assigned. The youngest Uchiha didn't particularly care who she was placed with. She just hoped that they didn't slow her down. Her only concern was making Itachi pay for what he had done to their family. That night was always on her mind. She had to get stronger so she could avenge them all and her family could finally rest in peace. "What are you doing, sitting on the desk? Loser." Suki remembered saying as she saw a blonde sitting on the desk, well more like crouching. He was looking at her so intensely. He seemed almost angry but more frustrated than anything. Well, he was glaring at her, so she glared right back. "What's so special about you, anyway? Why do they like you? You just ignore everyone." He'd asked her. "They're stupid. I'm not. That's why I'm special. Now, get out of my face." She growled at him. That's when someone pumped them together. Their lips connected. It was known as the kissing incident and would later become one of the Academy's greatest WTF moments. They were both in shock. Their eyes had widened to comical levels. Quickly, they broke apart and pretended to gag. Naruto had to race out of the classroom. Most of his male classmates weren't happy that he stole Suki's first kiss. Serves him right. She watched as the other boys chased after him with pleasure. Finally, they were useful. Though the youngest Uchiha couldn't help but bring her hand to her lips. They still tingled from the kiss. It was a strange feeling, but a good one. She tried to shake it off. It hadn't been a real kiss. Their lips smashed together and their teeth had clashed more than anything. So why did it still feel good afterwards? She couldn't help but laugh at the memory. It had been so long ago, but it would forever be burned into her mind. While she had been furious about the incident back then, it was now one of her few happy memories. "You're laughing. After what Kakashi told me, I didn't expect that. You okay?" A few minutes later, Naruto cautiously approaches her after opening the door. Naruto was honestly stunned. He'd never actually heard Suki laugh before in a way that wasn't psychotic. It sounded like bells when she was actually happy. She'd always had an amazing voice. It reminded Naruto of Silk. He remembered as a kid purposely trying to piss her off just to get her to talk more. So maybe he shouldn't be surprised she had a beautiful laugh. "I was just remembering something. Did Kakashi tell you everything?" She asks cautiously. "That the council wants to force you to marry me or they'll try to get you executed after some rigged trial." "Yeah. Would you want to meet at the academy anyway?" Naruto asks, trying to lessen the tension in the room. "I thought it was fitting. This is where it all began. This is where we met. So I figured it would be a good place for closure." She informs him. "Closure? Wait, you don't think that I'm seriously going to let them execute you, do you?" She was out of her mind. "No. I know you won't let them. You'll try your best to save me. It is what you always do, no matter how stupid it is. But in the end, you lose this time. This isn't the battlefield. This is politics. You don't know how this game is played. I do. I might as well pick out my gravestone." She mutters. She smiles grimly. It was what he would do. Naruto was a force of nature. He actually believed in happy endings. The blonde seemed to think he could make everything right just through sheer force of will. And so far, that has largely worked for him. Not this time though. She just wanted him to accept what was going to happen. She had. But she didn't want him to blame himself. Knowing Naruto, that was a very real possibility. Naruto growls. His eyes turned red, the whisker marks on his cheeks grew more jagged and his teeth sharper. Suki could feel the menacing edge to his chakra now. That had apparently been the wrong thing to say. "Naruto. Calm down." Suki had the gall to tell him. "I don't want to hear you talk like that ever again. Your dying is not something to joke about." He hisses in outrage. "Naruto, get off of me or we will both meet our deaths together." She warns him. "No. You need to listen. I'm not going to let you run off again before I've said what I have to say." The blonde thunders at her. "Fine. Just say it." Suki relents and turns her head away from him. She was not going to look into those beautiful blue, accusing eyes. This is going to sound really strange, considering everything. Naruto begins. "PFT, please. When have we ever been normal?" She encourages him to continue in her own unique way. "Yeah, well, we are on the subject of being normal. I have my new arm. It's a little weird since his skin was darker than mine, but it works the same as my old one. I asked Tsunade to keep your replacement arm just in case you changed your mind." He trails off. "I don't want it." She shakes her head. "Why not? I swear it hurts at first, but you've had much worse. It takes some getting used to, but eventually you won't be able to tell the difference. Well, except for coloration. Yeah, it's going to look really weird compared to the rest of your skin tone. You've never really cared about your looks before though. So I don't think that would matter." He reasons. "Naruto, you are babbling. What were you going to say?" She asks in amusement. You don't have to go through the trial. We could. You know. He says. I'm not sure, but I think you just proposed to me. Suki blinks. Yeah. Sorta. I mean if it's that or risking you dying, I'm going with the marriage option. I mean they clearly just want us to live together so I can watch you. That's not so bad. It's not like they actually care if we are together. He says. So you are asking for a legal marriage that is essentially nothing more than playing house. Suki was now looking at him like he had grown a second head. Something like that. I mean if you are okay with it. He tells her. I'm not okay with it. After everything that I put you through, I can't steal that from you. I can't steal your chance at a real marriage. I can handle the trial. If I lose, that's fine. I've made my peace with it. You should too. She answers softly. It's not stealing if I'm offering. Besides, what if I don't want a real marriage? I want you to live. I'm not losing you after everything that happened because of a bunch of old cowards trying to get you executed on a technicality. You've done so much good since the end of the war. You've more than paid for your crimes. They shouldn't keep punishing you. He murmurs. He'd never understand it. How could she make him want to strangle her and protect her at the same time? Well, he knew. It was because she was Suki. The blonde hadn't seen her in a couple of years, so he takes this chance to drink in the sight of her. Her hair was longer now, reaching well past her shoulders and black at night. Suki's skin was an exotic ivory cream color. Her eyes were darker than coal without the Sharingan and framed elegantly by her long lashes. Even without an arm and knowing that she was just as likely to kill them as look at them, she still had a flock of admirers. Do you realize how messed up we are? I tried to kill you and now you are proposing to me. Me, the person who caused you nothing but pain since you were a kid. She points out. Yeah, it is pretty messed up and that is not true. You haven't just caused me pain. Yeah, it hurt when we left. Yes, our fights were vicious. But it wasn't just pain. You're my best friend. He tells her and caresses her cheek soothingly. Despite herself, she felt herself leaning into his touch. Naruto was Naruto. He was always going to try to save her and everyone no matter what. It was just who he was. That was exactly why agreeing to marry him was the most selfish thing she'd ever do. He deserved better than her. Alright. I made my peace with dying, but that doesn't mean I want to. If you are dumb enough to agree to marry me, then who am I to stop you? She says with a smirk. Great. You know I've always wanted to see your district. He adds as an afterthought. Are you ever going to stop that annoying habit of yours in finding a silver lining in everything? She asks in amusement. Nope. Never. He answers her. She smiles. Naruto would always be Naruto. She couldn't help but notice he changed a lot in the past couple years. Suki wasn't blind. Those biceps were new and she could feel the muscle in his frame holding her down. His hair was still golden, but now it was growing in a style that resembled the fourth and his eyes were still his most noticeable feature, like the sky on a sunny summer's day. He had sun-kissed skin. The blonde was just naturally tan, she decided. He was also now over a head taller than her. That last part was a bit frustrating. Get off of me. We have to tell Kakashi the good news. She says sarcastically. Yeah. Hey, Suki, what kind of cake do you like? He questions. That was random. She replies. Well, if we are getting married, there's obviously going to be a cake. It's tradition. The blonde informs her. Naruto, all we need to do is sign the marriage license with our chakra. A ceremony isn't necessary and it'd be awkward. She reasons. What? Oh no. You are not talking your way out of this one. It's probably going to be my only chance to see you in a dress. Besides, I'm next in line to be Hokage. It's kinda a big deal. If we don't invite the other cages and daimyos to our wedding, they'll feel insulted. He points out. Damn it. I guess you're right. She concedes. Yup. Geez, things would have been so much easier if you had figured that out years ago. He smiles cheerfully. And they'd also be easier if you got your fat ass off of me. She rolls her eyes. I am not fat. He says. You're right. That wasn't fair. You're heavy. Muscle weighs more than fat. You've got at least 30 fucking pounds on me. Now move it. She was tempted to smack him. That's because A, I'm a guy. Guys are heavier than guys usually. B, I'm taller. C, you're tiny. Naruto responds. What did you just call me? Suki says, twitching. Tiny. You are as light as a feather and barely reach my chin. He answers her, enjoying her look of raw fury. Well, this tiny woman can kick your damn ass. She scoffs. Doesn't bother me. Makes that whole carrying you over the threshold thing easier. He teases her, knowing that he was just asking for it now. There is absolutely no way in hell. She informs him, not even bothering to finish that sentence. It's tradition. He laughs. It is stupid. I can walk just fine. The raven-haired woman shrugs. I guess we have the whole bickering like an old married couple thing down, huh? Naruto apparently couldn't stop laughing. Yeah. Neither could Suki. Wow. He stares at her. What? She asks suddenly, wary. I think that's the second time I've ever heard you laugh. You know it in a not homicidal way, I'm going to kill you sort of way. He answers her. Oh. Guess you are right. Uchiha smiles in realization. Do it again. He nods at her. Naruto, I can't laugh on command. Don't be stupid. She scoffs. But I liked it. He says in such an adorable way that Suki couldn't hide a small smile. If you are lucky, you might hear it again in another decade or so. Suki couldn't resist teasing him either. Oh, that's it. We are practicing the threshold thing. He says and gets up, scooping her up into his arms bridal style. Naruto. Put me down. She growls at him. Nope. I was trying to be nice, but you had to be mean. He says. I swear to God Naruto, if you don't put me down right now. She starts to say and decides to let his imagination finish the threat. You know, this would be about the time having two arms would come in handy, huh? He taunts her. You're such an asshole. She snarls at him and tries to wiggle out of his hold. I learned from the best. Suki, stop struggling. Sheesh, you're like that damn cat we rescued as Genin. He tells her. Who could blame that cat? That woman was horrible. Suki murmurs. Yeah. That's true. He admits. Suki was determined though. Naruto had to hand it to her. She was stubborn. But he had a couple advantages. The first is he had two arms. The second is. He'd always had the edge in raw strength and stamina. Suki was better with chakra control and speed. I'll get the damn arm. I'm not letting you pull something like this again. She murmurs and looks up at him. Good. He grins at this news. Aha. Can you put me down now? This is embarrassing. She squirms. Nope. You are still on thin ice for that gravestone and no laughing crack. He informs her. Suki sighs. Naruto was the most stubborn person she'd ever met. Screw it. She lets him carry her to see Kakashi. It was oddly soothing, Suki notes a few minutes later. Naruto had his strong arms wrapped around her tightly, but not too tightly. She felt protected and cared for. The last Uchiha was beginning to remember why she had enjoyed piggyback rides with Itachi as a child. See? It's not so bad, is it? He asks once he realizes that Suki had finally stopped struggling against his hold like a cornered cat. Suki had long ago discovered that Naruto's was like a furnace. He was always so warm. Which was a welcome respite from the unforgiving winter winds that were currently blowing on this cold night. His scent was also reassuring somehow. She never did identify what it was. The brunette had just decided to file it under the category of earthy. It was purely Naruto. It's okay. She murmurs. Naruto shakes his head and walks into Kakashi's office. Kakashi blinks but chuckles when he sees Suki being carried bridal style by Naruto. Well. He supposed that deep down he had always known the two would end up killing each other or screwing like rabbits. It was a pity that Jiraiya was dead. He was certain if they ever actually acknowledged their feelings went deeper than friendship, it would have given the man great material for a new book. With Suki's Sharingan and Naruto's shadow clones. It'd make for an exciting read. I take it that. Is there going to be a wedding? He asks. Yeah. Definitely the most unconventional marriage proposal ever. But Suki agreed to get the arm. He says cheerfully. Probably because she couldn't get out of your hold without it. Kakashi muses. Exactly. Suki agrees. Do you want the arm before or after the wedding? The silver-haired ninja asks. Definitely before. Naruto's got this dumb idea that he's going to carry me over the threshold. She says. Well, it is tradition. Kakashi replies. Exactly. See? Naruto says smugly. I'm surrounded by idiots. Suki sighs. I don't know why you are protesting. You seem rather comfortable. Kakashi muses. Fireball jutsu? Suki says and blows a fireball at Kakashi. You are going to have your hands full with her. The Hokage says. Yeah, I know. Naruto replies. HMPF. Suki says and tilts her head to the side, not looking at either of them. Well, if you are getting a new arm, that's going to take several months for you to get used to it. So I wouldn't say the wedding would be until June at the earliest. I suppose it does give you plenty of time to plan and try to figure out how not to kill each other. Kakashi observes. Yeah. Guess so. Better start packing up my stuff. Naruto mutters. And you are not wearing orange to our wedding. Suki informs him. What's wrong with orange? He asks. Seriously? You have to ask that. Well, at least one good thing will come out of this. You'll have a better wardrobe. She says and smacks her forehead. Kakashi chuckles. Some things never changed. Suki and Naruto were always going to fight like cats and dogs. It didn't matter if it was over something trivial such as fashion choices or something as important as the fate of the Leaf Village. It was just a fact of life. He had no idea how they weren't going to kill each other. One thing was for damn sure though, the Leaf would never be the same. Chapter 2. That's it. That's all you are taking. Suki raises an eyebrow as Naruto was pulling along one suitcase into their district. Yeah. I mean other than clothes, I don't really need anything. I figure you already got furniture, food, and the other important stuff. He shrugs. Oh, that was surprisingly smart of you. She muses. Hey. What's that supposed to mean? He demands. Normally you aren't much of a planner. You tend to rush into everything without thinking, much like this marriage. The last Itachi smirks. Suddenly, Suki feels herself stopped. Naruto had grabbed her hand. The blonde pulled her close to him and looked at her with a very serious expression. The brunette actually had to look away from those intense blue eyes, staring her down. I did not rush into this without thinking. I thought about it, just not very long. I wasn't going to let them hurt you. He smiles at her sincerely. She bites her lower lip. Suki honestly didn't know how to respond to that. She could tell that he meant it. He was Naruto. The man would do anything to protect his friends, and this apparently included walking down the aisle with her, it seemed. You're right. That was. I shouldn't have said that. She couldn't help but feel a little guilty at her cruelty. Damn it. Her default mechanism was to shove Naruto as far away as possible. If he had any common sense he would have let her go years ago. She just kept hurting him, but he didn't. No matter what she said or did to him, Naruto seemed to have an endless supply of forgiveness in him. She didn't know how he did it. It's okay. I know you didn't mean it. You are just doing what you have always done. He says. And what's that? She asks cautiously. Try to push everyone away, especially me. I know why you do it. I completely get it. You don't want to get close to someone and lose them, like you did with your family. But you need to get it through your head that I'm not going to let you push me away. So you can be as sarcastic as you want, it's not going to work. I'm not going anywhere. He nods vigorously. That was surprising. Insightful of you. Who are you and what have you done with Naruto? She half laughs. Very funny. He says, twitching. I thought so. Suki smiles smugly. I probably should have checked to make sure that you weren't an imposter when you laughed. Twice. Naruto swats her lightly. Alright. I deserved that one. Not bad. Though it took you a while to come up with that one. Suki didn't even bother trying to dodge the swat. It still counts. He replies. Yes, it does. So. This is our district. Suki informs him once they head inside the Uchiha district. Wow, your family must have been pretty big. This is practically a mini village. Naruto blinks. We had a couple hundred members. She informs him. So which one is your house? The blonde looks around in awe. This one. She leads him to the house in the center of the district and the only one that looked like a human had been inside it for years. It's nice. Normal. Not what I was expecting, really. He murmurs. What were you expecting? She glares at him. I don't know. I guess a castle, an iron fence, and maybe a moat. With the alligators. Naruto laughs more nervously than Suki would have liked. You've been watching too many horror movies. She scoffs. Maybe. He admits and follows her inside. So you can take whatever room you want. Except for Itachi's or my parents' rooms. She adds as an afterthought. Yeah. I think I'll skip those rooms. I mean your brother was amazing and I'm sure your parents were too, but I don't want to sleep in a room where there might be ghosts. Naruto shivers. You don't actually believe in ghosts, do you? She shakes her head in disbelief. Suki, we've seen people brought back from the dead, talking animals, and we can literally crush mountains. I think ghosts are pretty easy to believe in when you consider all the things we see on a daily basis. He reasons. Well, when you put it like that, maybe you have a point. She shrugs, clearly the thought of ghosts didn't frighten her in the same way it did the blonde. So 4 bedrooms, 2 of which are guest rooms, 2 bathrooms, a kitchen, attic, library, den, laundry room, storage room, training room, and a living room. Damn pretty big house. He says. Sometimes our grandparents or cousins would stay over. So we needed the guest rooms. Suki says. What were your grandparents like? He asks. Inseparable. Suki didn't need even a second to answer that question. Oh well, good for them. He says with a smile. My grandmother was very kind. She enjoyed baking with my mother and dressing up for my grandfather. My grandfather enjoyed my grandmother's company and taunting father. She elaborates. Naruto blinks. That was the most he'd ever heard Suki talk about her family, other than Itachi and the massacre ever. He didn't want to interrupt her and risk the brunette closing herself off again. Anyway, are you hungry? It'd probably be a good idea for you to eat something other than ramen once a month or so. She mocks him. Hey. Ramen is awesome. He protests. I honestly don't know how you stay healthy when all you eat is that cheap garbage. It has no nutritional value whatsoever. The last Uchiha continues. It does so. But yeah, I'm a little hungry. He admits. Why don't you unpack? I'll make us something. She suggests. Wait. You just volunteered to cook for me. Naruto gapes at her. We are going to be married. Most wives cook for their husbands at some point. Besides, I don't trust you not to burn the house down. She saunters off into the kitchen. I resent that. I can cook. He flails. And I'm really Sakura. She calls out. Naruto shakes his head and starts unpacking. Plus he couldn't deny that he was interested to see Suki's house. She was just so private. They said you could tell a lot about a person by their house. He decides to explore. He found Suki's room easily enough. It had the strongest traces of her scent and chakra in it. Naruto blamed Kyuubi, but his sense of smell was a lot more powerful than most people's. So yeah. He knew Suki's scent. It's so clean. He mutters. There was a bed. He'd guess probably a queen-sized one. How fitting, he smirked at that thought. The pillows were wide and fluffy. The blankets were a rich navy blue color. Her carpet was red and the walls were gray. He could see a connected bathroom. She had a fairly small closet for a woman her age. Mostly ninja clothes. There was a desk by her bed that had a lamp on it, a large clock, and the only really personal item at all that could see was a large vanity that he was sure had to be at least 100 years old. It was so sterilized. There is nothing to give away anything really. He could have been inside anyone's room. It was slightly disturbing. The only thing out of place was a bit of red that was just peeking over the one of the drawers in the dresser. Curious, he decides to see what it was. Whoa. I didn't know she wore stuff like that. He says and quickly shoves the red lacy bra back into the dresser. The FT. You are pathetic. She's going to be your mate and you are blushing like a child over her clothing. He hears Kyuubi mock him. Shut up. It's just. Pretend to keep her safe. It's not like we are going to be a real couple. He counters. You chazzed her all over the 5 nations and you expect me to believe that you have no intentions of seeing her in that. Kurama scoffs. That's right. She's just my friend. The blonde blushes. If that is the case, why is your nose bleeding? Kyuubi taunts him. Meanwhile, Suki finishes preparing dinner. The brunette decides to go and find the idiot. He obviously didn't hear her yelling at him to come down. She looks around for him. That's when she noticed her room's door was open. Idiot. He must have gone into her room. Naruto, the food is done. Are you okay? Your nose. She blinks and walks over to him in concern. Oh great. No reason. I just get them at random sometimes. Probably from all the times you've thrown punches at it. He rubs the back of his head sheepishly. Well come on. I doubt you want to eat it cold. Suki rolls her eyes. Yeah. What's for dinner anyway? He follows her curiously. Soup. She answers. Naruto blinks when they get to the kitchen. What Suki called soup, he would have called stew. There was some kind of tender-looking meat in the bowls, gravy, various spices and herbs he couldn't identify, and potatoes inside it. He takes a bite and starts chowing down. Suki could cook. Who knew? But at least you are eating something other than ramen for a change. She joins him for dinner. Yeah. So Kyuubi and I were talking about the whole marriage thing. It'd probably be better if at least in public we put on a good show. Really mess with the council members. Plus it'd probably help you to get people to feel more comfortable around you. He offers. I do like the idea of fucking with the council members. She admits. And you need to at least try not to scare the hell out of everyone. He insists. So what did you have in mind to convince the village it's real? She asks. Well we could do whatever your parents did to show affection in public. He suggests. They weren't really that affectionate in public. The standard hand-holding and chaste kisses. Well there was one thing my dad would do, but you are way too innocent for that and it'd be weird. She says. Suki, I traveled with Pervy Sage for years. I think whatever it is, I can handle it. Naruto insists. Alright. He'd hold her while they were walking. She says. So? What's so scandalous about that? The blue-eyed man continues. He'd have one of his hands on her ass. Suki finishes and smirks when Naruto chokes on his drink. Suki, did you really have to tell me that when I was drinking? God, you are sadistic. I swear you do stuff like that on purpose. He says. Yes, I did and I did it on purpose. She laughed in a way that very clearly asked what he was going to do about it. Oh that's it. You so deserve this. He lunges at Suki. Naruto, don't. Don't you dare. I swear to God if you do it, I will kick your ass. She warns him. It was too late though. The blonde had already tackled her to the ground. He proceeded to commence with the torture known as tickling. Years ago, he had found out that Suki was extremely ticklish. He wouldn't say she was laughing so much as she would alternate between squealing and growling. Yeah, she was actually capable of making that sound. It surprised Naruto too. That's not fair. She says and tries to escape her tormentor. Neither was making me choke. He counters and continues tickling her. The next day and many destroyed pieces of furniture later, Suki and Naruto go to speak with Tsunade. Naruto was determined to get Suki a new arm. She had been joking when she said she wanted it earlier so that he wouldn't be able to carry her, but Naruto took her literally. She sighed. This was going to hurt a lot. Yes, I can do the transplant. No, I don't think it's a good idea. They are forcing you to marry because they believe that Naruto is the only one who can handle Suki. Erasing her handicap is not going to sit well with them. She informs the pair before her. I know. It's a dumb idea. I was just joking. Suki nods, completely in agreement with the busty blonde for once. Suki. Naruto growls warningly. Naruto, you can't force her to take the arm if she doesn't want it. Tsunade points out. If I take it, can they do anything about it? Suki sighs, referring to the council. No. They issued their verdict in stark black and white terms. Nowhere did they make your pardon conditional on not replacing your arm. Tsunade observes. I'll do it. Consider it a wedding present, loser. Suki shakes her head. I will. Naruto grins cheekily. Well, best to get started. It's already been in storage for years. That will make this more difficult than if we had done it earlier. It will be more painful. Recovery time will be longer. She warned Suki. That's fine. I doubt getting a new arm will hurt more than losing the old one. She reasons. Oh, you are very wrong about that, but I'll make sure that you are given a rather generous pain prescription. Naruto, I'm afraid you can't come with us. I can't be distracted by your hovering. This surgery is going to take all of my concentration. She warns him as she walks off with Suki to the operating rooms at the hospital. I got it. He nods. While waiting, he sees Hinata. Naruto smiles. He had some time to pass, probably a lot of it judging by what Granny Tsunade said. Hinata was a good friend. So why not spend some of the time talking to her? Hey Hinata. He smiles at her pleasantly. Naruto. Is it true about you and Suki? She asks. Wait, how'd you hear about that so fast? We didn't tell anyone. Naruto couldn't help but feel rather shocked that Hinata knew. I overheard Kakashi and Tsunade talking about it. I know it's wrong to spy, but… She trails off. Yeah. I get it. You were curious. Yeah, it's true. It was that or they'd put her through some show trial. They'd kill her. He answers. I understand. You've always been the type of person who would do anything to save their friends. It just hurts though. I love you. I would have made you happy. Suki, she's not a bad person, but she's a broken person. Hinata sighs as she looks at Naruto with sympathetic eyes. Hinata. Naruto didn't know what to say. It's okay. I understand. But if she hurts you again, I'm going to lock up every single one of her chakra points. Hinata promises. Noted. Naruto laughs nervously. He hated that he had apparently hurt Hinata. She was nice. She was pretty. She was definitely brave and loyal to her friends. Those were all good things. Really, by almost anyone's standard she was the perfect woman. He just didn't feel that way about her. He wished he did. She was a good friend. A good friend who happened to be really pretty, but that was it. I hope it works out for both of you. The brunette winces, obviously trying to power through her pain. Thanks Hinata. That means a lot. Naruto hugs her and Hinata blushes, returning it. Naruto wasn't sure when it happened. But at some point, he must have fallen asleep. Because later on, he was awoken to the sun shining through the windows of the waiting room. Tsunade was walking towards him. Good. You're awake. The surgery is over. It was. Not pleasant, but the arm is attached. She'll need to change the bandages regularly and I gave her a lot of pain meds. Tsunade explains. Great. Can I see her? He asks. Yes, you can. She wants to go home. I think she should stay for a few days, but she really hates hospitals. I can't blame her. Most ninjas do. She offers. Well, do you think she's safe to take home? I mean obviously, it'd be better to keep her here. Would it be dangerous to move her though? He questions. No, it's not dangerous to move her. Make sure to keep those pain meds in handy. She's going to be in a lot of pain for a while. Tsunade warns him. Alright. Got it. I'll go see her. He races into Suki's room. Hey. Naruto tries to keep his voice low. Don't hey me. Get me out of here. Suki grumbles. I guess you're okay. You're as bossy as ever. He laughs. I mean it. She warns him. Alright. Tsunade said I could take you home anyway. He says and scoops her up into his arms. Suki gives him a look like, you have got to be kidding me. Not this again. We said we were going to make it look real. What's realer than Bridal Style? He smirks. Alright, you have a point. She admits and settles into his hold. He carries her out of the hospital. They were getting a lot of looks. It was to be expected really. At some point, Suki had buried her face into the crook of his neck. Naruto knew that she was blushing. Her skin was too warm not to be. He set her gently on the couch when they got home. Naruto knew Suki. She was stubborn. The brunette would never admit to being in pain. So he might as well make the offer. I could rub your arm for you. I know it made mine feel better. stimulates the blood flow. He explains. Okay. She agrees and that's how Naruto knew she was in a lot of pain. Suki almost never agreed to help. It'd be easier if you laid in my lap. He says. Shockingly, Suki did exactly that. Naruto smiles. He blamed the pain meds. That was why Suki was being, well, less stubborn than usual. He was sure. But he wasn't going to argue. He starts rubbing her arm and telling her about his travels with Uraya. 2 out of the 3 Sanin are perverts. The third is an alcoholic with a gambling addiction. Suki muses. Yeah. It seems like if you make it to 30 as a ninja, you're guaranteed to go at least a little insane. Naruto admits and continues the massage. Better Jiraiya than Orochimaru though. She says. You never really told me anything about your time at the Sound, your travels with Team Hawk, or even your more recent journey. He says. I guess if you want to swap traveling stories. The last 2 are the best to start with. She sighs. Naruto seemed to accept that for a while anyway. The blonde was just so happy to have his friend back and eager to share his stories that he didn't seem to mind that Suki was far more selective in what she'd tell him. The fact she was opening up to him at all was amazing. And then. For some reason she tried to steal my toothbrush, but she grabbed Sujetsu's by mistake. Suki finishes. What did she want with your toothbrush anyway? Naruto looks at her in confusion. I don't know. I don't want to know. Suki answers him. Yeah, I guess some things are better left unsaid. How's your arm feeling? He glances over at her new limb in concern. Better. I think it's mostly the pain meds. The rubbing helps. She admits. That's good. You know I think this is the longest we've ever talked without trying to punch each other. He states. Don't ruin it. She murmurs and yawns, closing her eyes. Suki? He asks. He didn't get any response. She'd actually fallen asleep. He smiles and carries her upstairs. Naruto gently sets her down on the bed. He was about to pull away to leave when he felt her use her good arm to tug him down on the bed. Don't leave. She mumbles in her sleep. I won't. He promises, shocked by her sleep talking and grabbing. Sleeping Suki seemed to believe him because she relaxes. She curled up against Naruto. The brunette cuddled up to him in such a way that it looked like she was trying to burrow into him. He smiles and wraps his arms around her. Sleeping Suki was a cuddler it seemed. Oh, he was never going to let her live this down. Suki was in that strange place, halfway between dreams and being awake. She was aware that she was warm. She was comfortable. The brunette just didn't realize it was because she was snuggling Naruto. If she had, her face would have turned as red as one of her beloved tomatoes. Chapter 3. Suki woke in the morning, feeling oddly comfortable. She was so warm and her bed felt so firm. She liked a firm bed. As she slowly began to wake up, she realized something was wrong. What the? She mumbled sleepily. Her pillow was moving. Pillows were not supposed to do that. It was subtle, but it was steady. A gradual up and down motion. She cautiously opens her eyes and soon finds out why. Her head was on Naruto's chest. It was his breathing she felt. Now that she thought about it, that did explain the steady thump-thump that had lulled her to sleep the entire night. She had thought that she'd been dreaming, but she hadn't been. That was just the sound of Naruto's heartbeat. Better get out of his arms before he wakes up. I'll never hear the end of this. She tries to wiggle out of his hold. She frowns. Naruto's embrace was a powerful thing, it seemed. No matter how much she squirmed or tried to move his hands, he wouldn't budge. It was like trying to move a mountain. Despite this, it was never crushing. She wondered about this contradiction, but decided it didn't matter. What mattered now was getting out of his arms before he woke up. Are you ever going to stop doing that? He looks at her. Damn it all to hell. He was awake. How long had he been awake? Has Naruto faked being asleep? That might explain his stronghold. Stop doing what? She asks. Trying to run away from me. It's annoying. He teases her using the word that Suki had often used while they were genin. Your chazzing is even more so. She taunts him. It wouldn't be annoying if you didn't run in the first place. But you know before we go out and commence with Operation Screw with the council, we should probably practice. I mean it'd be awkward if we weren't used to the whole PDA thing. No one is going to believe it if we look shocked. Plus there's the fact that you don't know how to be nice and flirt. He adds as an afterthought. Excuse me? She raises an eyebrow. It's not a big deal. You're just used to being chazzed. I doubt you even know how to flirt because well you've never had to. He explains. I know how to flirt. I just choose not to. She scoffs. They have to believe that we are lovers. Naruto continues. And you don't think that I'm capable of faking it? She states. Pretty much, yeah. He answers. That sounds like a challenge. Suki muses. What? No, I didn't mean it as a challenge. I'm just saying Naruto doesn't get to finish his sentence as Suki had now moved to sit in his lap and wrapped her arms around his neck. I'll prove that I am fully capable of flirting. When I want to. she informs him. Okay. The blue-eyed ninja knew better than to argue with Suki when she had that look in her eye. Oh, that eyelash thing was new. Suki had lowered her lashes and was giving him what Naruto could only call a seductive look. Jiraiya had called this tactic bedroom eyes. Suki had always had gorgeous eyes and seemed more than willing to use this to her advantage. She leans over. He can feel her breath warm in his ear, her lips brushing against it. The busty brunette was straddling his waist in a rather suggestive fashion. I want you. She murmurs into his ear in a breathless voice. Naruto was speechless. Fuck. Shit. God damn it. He didn't know that he was capable of getting hard that fast. Where the hell had she learned how to do this? Take it back. You're very good at faking it. He tries to adjust their position so that Suki didn't find out how good she was at pretending. Told you so. She smiles smugly and gets off his lap. Seriously? What is wrong with you? She does that and you do nothing. Any self-respecting male would bend that vixen over that damn coffee table and claim her immediately. Kurama rolls his eyes. She was just pretending. She didn't actually mean it. It's just practice. Naruto tells him. Just practice, my tails. One can't fake such desire. Kyuubi argues and it was at this point that Naruto cuts the link. But you know. I don't think that approach is really appropriate in public. Naruto says. Probably not. I was mostly proving a point. She shrugs. So we need to work on things like hand-holding, kisses on the cheek, maybe on the mouth, and holding each other. He says. The kissing on the mouth thing is going to take some practice. You are a horrible kisser. Your teeth practically knocked mine out at the academy. Suki smirks. Hey. That was an accident. That is not how I kiss for real. He protests. That's a challenge, if I ever heard one. Kyuubi says. Be quiet. Naruto barks at him. Considering we are getting married and have to kiss at the wedding, God I hope not. She continues taunting him. Oh, that's it. Naruto pins her to the couch. Suki wasn't proud of it, but she let out a startled meep. She hadn't expected him to pounce like a fucking lion or something. She mentally corrected herself, more like a fox. Foxes were good pouncers. She had seen a few animal documentaries when she was a kid and remembered thinking that it was cute. Naruto? She asks uncertainly. I'm going to prove you wrong. He captures her lips with his own. Soft and warm. Her lips were soft and warm. Naruto heard Suki gasp, that was all the opportunity that he needed to deepen the kiss. Suki's kiss tasted like red wine and chocolate, he decided. Wanting more, he decided to explore her mouth further by gliding his tongue across hers and mapping her mouth. He must have shocked the hell out of her because for about 15 seconds, she just laid there stunned. But after a while, he felt her tug on his hair and pulled him closer with her original arm. It looked like she was still pretty ginger about using the other. NHH. He hears her moan into the kiss as Suki returns it. For once, Suki wasn't running away from him. She was actually trying to get closer to him. Even more shocking, she wasn't fighting for control of the kiss. The brunette was clearly allowing him to take the lead, even had her tongue seductively danced against his in a way that made his blood heat up. For some reason, the voluntary submission just excited him more. Oh god. That felt good. Suki's vocabulary had shut down, along with most of her brain. Well, except the part that apparently processed the sensation of touch. Where did he learn to kiss like that? She wondered as she returned it. There was a slightly citrus taste to his kiss and something that she couldn't identify exactly. She was just labeled under the category of masculine. The way he kissed her made her feel like fire was racing through her veins. It felt painfully good. Her heart skipped a couple beats. Naruto didn't want to. He really didn't want to. But the blonde was not suicidal. If he kept going, Suki was bound to notice his arousal. She'd probably punch him for that. Whoever came up with the phrase, hit like a girl, had clearly never met Suki-chan. So? Still think I'm a bad kisser? He taunts her. Well, you are better than you were back then. I suppose. Kissing you at the wedding won't be so bad. She smirks cockily, though the fact that she whimpered when he broke the kiss and she was breathless told Naruto just how seriously to take her lukewarm verbal assessment. He couldn't help but feel a surge of pride that he had left her breathless. Her face was flushed in a lovely rosy color and her lips were slightly swollen. Suki might pretend otherwise, but now Naruto knew that he was a good kisser. He doubted Suki had much more, if any, experience at kissing than he did. But he figured that much like in every other area of life, Suki was hard to impress. So if he could impress her, he must be a damn good kisser. You think you are up for it? A walk around the village. Maybe go see a wedding planner? It's okay if you aren't. I know your arm has to be hurting you. He suggests. I'm up for it. Just let me get changed. She heads upstairs to get something. Yeah. Good idea. Naruto says and races off to change as well. A few minutes later, Naruto and Suki head off into the village. Everywhere they went, people were looking at them. Suki surprised Naruto by taking his hand first. "You want to go to the flower shop first?" Ino's the biggest gossip in the village. He leans down and brushes his lips against her ear to make it look like he was whispering sweet nothings to her. Good idea. Make sure to put on a hell of a show for her. She agrees and walks with him. Hey Naruto. Ino smiles at him, but she blinks when she sees Suki. Hey Suki. What brings you guys here? The blonde woman asks. We wanted to look at some flowers. You know every wedding has to have flowers. Naruto beams. No way. You too? She asks. Suki nods in confirmation. How'd that happen? The other woman asks, stunned. Well. Naruto pauses, they hadn't come up with a good bullshit love story yet. Suki though didn't hesitate. He found out that the last Uchiha could be extremely creative when she wanted to be. He was frankly stunned at the story she pulled out of thin air. I realized while I was there. Away from the village, that Naruto never gave up on me. He was never far from my thoughts. I tried to break our bond, but he wouldn't let me. I couldn't let myself. I tried to break it, thinking if I was away long enough on a journey of redemption, that the feelings would go away or he would fall in love with someone else by the time I got back. But he waited for me. Suki begins and notes the stars appearing in Ino's eyes. Oh yeah, she was buying this. And then what happened? She giggles. We were training and somehow the heat of battle became something more. We've been keeping it a secret because we didn't know how the village would react, but Kakashi has decided to approve of our relationship and help soothe over any worries that the others might have. So we decided there's no reason to hide our love anymore. Suki smiles at the other woman. Yeah. Suki was a genius. Naruto always knew that of course, but damn. She had just completely made that up in under a minute. Wow. He was probably going to need to get her to write that down and memorize it for future reference. That's so romantic. I'm really happy for you. So what kind of flowers were you interested in? She asks happily. Suki to her credit looks at Naruto. The brunette looks at him as if he was really her lover and she wanted his input on the flowers. Naruto rubs the back of his head sheepishly, like he knew anything about flowers. We were just gonna browse and see what we liked. He offers lamely. Oh sure. Well let me know if you need anything. The blonde ninja nods her head at them energetically. We will. He grins and leans down to whisper something in Suki's ear again. Don't freak out. You said to put on a show. He mutters. I won't freak out. She promises. Alright. Naruto slowly slides his hand down her back and over her ass, grabbing it firmly. Suki somehow manages not to jump. Whatever she had been expecting, it hadn't been that. Damn, Naruto wasn't afraid to go for it either. His touch was confident to put it mildly. It's a good thing you warned me. She whispers to him. Naruto couldn't believe that Suki hadn't met him yet, to be honest. He'd never touched a woman like he was touching her now. He was sorta mourning the fact that Suki had traded in her shorts for pants a few years ago. Yeah. Well I didn't want to get chittered or something. Naruto whispers back. Here I would have said something stupid at this point like, baby got back. Despite his limited experience, he realized that Suki definitely had a nice ass. If she took after her mother, he could understand why Suki's father had been so grabby. Is she looking? Suki murmurs. Oh yeah. Her eyes are about to pop out of her head. Naruto assures her. Mission accomplished then. You can take your hand off now. Suki nods at him. What? No. We want to make it look as realistic as possible. So the longer we are seen touching and stuff. He trails off. You're right. Suki admits, though Naruto could see that her cheeks had taken on a slight blush. Do you mind picking out some flowers? He asks. Roses are traditional. Red, white, and yellow. She answers. Yellow? Didn't see that coming. Naruto mutters. Same color as your hair. Thought it was fitting. Suki replies. Didn't figure you for a romantic. He laughs as he places their order with Ino. I can be when I want to be. She shrugs. But choices. How soon do you want them? Ino smiles at the happy couple. Place them in the back order. We can't get married until my arm adjusts. Suki frowns at her bandages. Oh. Alright. Yeah. Sure. No problem. The bubbly blonde giggles. Thank you. Suki smiles at the other ninja as if this was all perfectly normal. Do you want to go get some lunch? Naruto glances at Suki. Sure. Suki says and kisses Naruto's cheek. Great. To the ramen shop. He laughs. Some things never change. She says and shakes her head in amusement, following him. Aw come on. Besides, if we can convince the old man, we can convince anyone. He says. I suppose he does act as a surrogate father for you in some bizarre way. God knows you see him as much as you do Kakashi. Suki muses. Yeah. Naruto agrees. Damn it. I just realized something. Suki shakes her head as they walk into the ramen shop. What's that? The blonde asks. We don't have wedding rings on. Suki answers. Oh. Well, we can get them. He says. If you go and buy them after we told Ino that you proposed to me. It's going to look weird. She'll know something is up. We'll have to use my parents' rings. She murmurs. Are you okay with that? I mean. It's not exactly like their marriage. He questions her. I'll have to be. Besides, if it wasn't for you. I'd be dead. I'm sure they won't mind. Give me your hand, she sighs. What for? Naruto looks at her in an utterly baffled way. I'm no Itachi, but my Jinjutsu is decent enough that it will work till we get home. I doubt anyone is going to suspect that people would actually Jinjutsu wedding rings. She was apparently tired of waiting because Suki takes Naruto's hand and performs the Jinjutsu. Whoa. These match the real ones. He looks down at the silver wedding band with a heart carved out of diamond and ruby to look like the Uchiha crest. Exactly. She looks down at her own. It was weird to wear her mother's ring. Even if it was just a jutsu. She would be wearing it soon enough. There was no physical weight on her hand, but the weight of reality definitely was slamming down. She was actually going to do this. Maybe she should try to talk Naruto out of it. He did deserve a real marriage. Naruto, having known Suki since they were like 5, knew when she was brooding. Most people couldn't tell the difference. Her facial expressions rarely changed. But her eyes would darken and lower. Oh yeah, she was brooding. Emergency measures had to be taken to snap her out of it. Don't worry. We have Kakashi on our side and I'm sure they'll understand. We're in love and getting married. They'll be happy for us once they get used to the idea. He nods at her as suddenly everyone within hearing range was staring at them. Yup. That had snapped her out of it. At first, he saw that she was more than a little angry he had pulled that without a warning. But Suki, being a good ninja, was used to having to adapt quickly. She wraps her arms around his neck and leans in to whisper something into his ear. If you ever pull a stunt like that again without warning me, I'm going to strangle you. She warns him, but she kisses his cheek and leans her head into his to make it look like she was seeking reassurance from her lover. I had to. You were brooding. It taught you to stop, didn't it? He asks her quietly. I was not brooding. She half growls at him. Yes you were. Come on. Let's get some food. Naruto pulls her inside the shop. Hey old man. Can you get me some ramen, a milkshake, and a salad with extra tomatoes for Suki? Oh Suki, what do you want to drink by the way? He asks. I'll just share the milkshake with you. She says. Alright. Yeah, that's it. The blonde laughs happily. Sure. Is it true that the two of you are getting married? The shop owner was openly gaping at them. Suki, ever dramatic and stoic as ever at the same time, just raises her hand. She was showing him her wedding ring and everyone else that happened to be looking from their table. The old man blinks. Yeah. I mean. It took us a while to realize why she couldn't kill me and I couldn't give up on her, but we finally did. It's love. I think it was mostly because we were so young when everything happened. Naruto grins at everyone. You're still young. The ramen shop owner points out. Yeah. But not 12 or even 15 anymore. He counters. Well, that's true. If you were 15, I don't think Kakashi would allow the wedding to go through. This order's on me. For my best customer and his soon-to-be wife. The civilian smiles at them. Really? You don't have to do that. I can pay. Naruto shakes his head. It's fine. This small of an order isn't going to make me grow broke. He assures him. Alright. If you are sure. Thanks. Naruto goes back to Suki with their food. Suki sticks 2 straws in the milkshake and starts sucking. Naruto blinks. She gives him a look like don't be thick. Just do it. Soon enough they were both drinking from the same milkshake with 2 straws. How's your arm? He asks after a while. I think I could use another pain pill. She admits and Naruto hands her one. Thanks. Suki smiles at him gratefully as she takes it. Did she say how long you had to wear the bandages? The blonde questions. 2 weeks. Optional after that. She answers. That's not so bad. He says. Especially when you take such good care of me. We can play doctor to pass the time. She actually purrs seductively, there was absolutely no mistaking the sensual lilting of her voice as she suggested playing doctor. Naruto wasn't exactly sure what she meant by playing doctor. But he liked the way she said it. He liked it a lot. It seemed some other patrons had caught it though. He was getting a few thumbs up from some of the men when they thought Suki wasn't looking. They really should know better, Suki was aware of her surroundings at all times. Thankfully, she seemed to be ignoring it. Likely because that was exactly the type of reaction she was hoping for. After they eat, they head off to see Kakashi. Mission accomplished, they hadn't killed each other yet. It also looked like everyone was buying their act. He couldn't wait to watch the council squirm. Hey Kakashi. He smiles once they arrive. Ah Naruto. Suki. Amazing, you are both in one piece. He chuckles. Miracles happen once in a while, Suki says with a shrug. I suppose they do. He agrees. Suki, I had a new Jonin uniform brought in for you. Why don't you go try it on and see if it fits? You've been away for a couple years. So it wouldn't be surprising if it needed adjustments. Kakashi hands it to her. Alright. Thanks. She heads off to go try it on. So how is it going really? Kakashi asks. Well. Better than expected. We decided to act like it's real just to really fuck with the council. Suki is. Well, she could have been an actress. Didn't know she was this. Creative. Hey, Kakashi, what does it mean when someone plays doctor? Naruto looks at him innocently. Kakashi almost chokes on his water. Thankfully, he managed not to. He blinks. Then he walks over to Naruto and whispers into the blonde's ear exactly what that meant. No way. Suki was actually okay with letting them think that we were going to do that. Naruto blinks. Precisely. Well, that's more creative than I expected. I always thought of Suki as a more get-down-to-business sort of girl. I didn't expect a playful side. Naruto doesn't look so shocked. You are getting married. People are naturally going to assume that you are acting as husband and wife in more than name. It's not as though her reputation is at risk. The copycat ninja reasons. You always thought of her as a get-down-to-business type. Kakashi, what the hell are you doing thinking about Suki like that? He snarls at him. I mean in the most general sense. She's far too young for me. But I suppose it is a good sign that you are already so possessive and jealous so easily. He muses. I'm not jealous. He fumes. And Pakin is really a ninja cat. His former teacher laughs. Luckily for Kakashi, Suki came back a few minutes later. It fits. In her new uniform. Much to Naruto's delight. Good. Good. Kakashi states. What did you say to piss off the loser? He looks like he wants to kill you. Suki questions. Oh, I just explained what you meant by playing doctor. The silver-haired man nods sagely. Wait. Naruto, you seriously didn't know what that was? For God's sakes, you traveled with Jiraiya. Suki looks at Naruto incredulously. I mostly tuned it out when he got all pervy. Naruto shrugs defensively. Am I going to have to give the talk to my own husband? She mocks him. Hey. I'm not that clueless. Just because I'm not a pervert like Kakashi, Jiraiya, and I guess you. Doesn't mean that I don't know about that stuff. He counters. Did you really just call me a pervert? Suki asks. Well, I'm not the one talking about playing doctor. The blonde glares. If you're that bashful about it, it's a really good thing I didn't mention the potential applications of shadow clones when it comes to sex. She shakes her head. I'm so proud of you for embracing your sexuality in such a creative way. Kakashi pats Suki on the back. Kakashi, don't touch me. I'm just mocking Naruto. It's not like we are actually going to do anything. She blushes deeply. Oh yeah? Is that why we made out and you let me put my hand on your ass without killing me? Naruto taunts, not at all sure why he felt it necessary to argue that point when it was what they had agreed on. That was. Practice and to make it look convincing. Her blush only grows darker. Then why are you blushing? Kakashi chuckles as if he was positively delighted by this turn of events. Chidori. Suki lunges at Kakashi, but the man manages to dodge. Oh boy. I hope you have home insurance at this rate. He teases. I do. Suki seethes. You're supposed to say that at the wedding, not now. The copycat ninja informs her. Kakashi, you are so annoying. She states. I wouldn't be a very good teacher if I didn't embarrass my students from time to time. It keeps you on your toes. He nods at her. Right. Well. The loser and I have lots of planning to do and murdering the Hokage probably would get my pardon revoked. Suki sighs. Yeah, it definitely would. Kakashi agrees. Lots of planning like what? The blonde asks. You're the one that wanted the ceremony. There's the invitation, the cake, the clothes, food, and other things. Suki was obviously in planning mode. Wow. I never thought you were one of those girls that daydreamed about her wedding. The blonde stares at her. I'm not. I'm just practical and I know that weddings just don't happen. She snaps at him, feeling a bit embarrassed. Well, you're right, I guess. Let's get going. He says and leads the angry Uchiha off. Kakashi laughs when he sees Naruto's hand go straight to Suki's ass. The glower she gave him was almost enough to make him choke on his laughter. The council might not realize it, but there was a very good chance the two of them would end up destroying the village in a fight, or if they actually managed to realize their feelings during their honeymoon. Suki had already raised an interesting point of contention with that shadow clone suggestion. Chapter 4. It was a few days later. By now, the entire village knew about their engagement. Suki was pretty sure that word of the good news was likely spreading to other villages and even nations by now. Naruto was the hero of the war. It was only natural people would be interested in his love life. Suki, do you have a minute? I need to talk to you. Hinata strides towards her. Alright. The last Uchiha walks with the Hyuga heiress towards the nearest training grounds, feeling rather puzzled. Hinata had never spoken to Suki before. She had to give her points for not stuttering though. Whatever was on her mind must be important for her to have accomplished this feat. Who was Suki kidding? She knew exactly what, or more accurately who was on the Hyuga's mind. Like everyone else in the village, the raven-haired woman was aware of Hinata's feelings for Naruto long before he had ever known. This was likely going to be very annoying. Still, she did owe her distant relation the courtesy of allowing her to speak her piece. Naruto told me that he was marrying you to save your life, but everyone else thinks it's a love match. She sighs. And what difference does that make? The end result is the same. Suki tries her best not to shrug. It makes every difference. Naruto should marry someone he loves. He deserves to be happy after everything he's been through. After everything you've put him through. Hinata was now screaming at her. It's a bit late to grow a backbone now, isn't it? Suki mentally winces as soon as the words leave her mouth. Maybe. But that doesn't change the fact. Don't you care about him at all? Why would you go along with this? I know you don't love him. You never cared about him. You just left him without a second thought. You nearly killed him dozens of times. The other ninja was positively incensed at this point. Hinata, I understand you are in a lot of pain right now. So I let what you just said slide this time. But if you ever try to pretend that you have any idea what I feel again, I will kill you. Suki flickers behind the other woman and pressing a kunai to her pretty little neck. That's how you solve everything, isn't it, with violence? What are you going to do when you and Naruto have a fight? Take his other arm? She snarls. Well, look who found her spine. Just think, if you had done it sooner you could have had him. What I do with Naruto is none of your business. Suki sends the blue net flying with a powerful kick to her back. Hinata gets to her feet. Suki recognized that look in her eyes. It was determination. So the cute little bunny wanted to tangle with the hawk. Her funeral. Suki smirks at the thought. I'm going to give you a chance to walk away. Naruto is marrying me of his own free will. Personally, I think he's just as stupid as you do for agreeing to it, but he did. He never meant to hurt you, and neither did I, Hinata. That's just the reality of the situation. Suki sighs, preparing herself for a fight. If need be. Naruto loves me. He doesn't love me as a lover, but he loves me as a friend. That's good enough for me. As his friend, I'm not going to let you hurt him again. Hinata charges at her. The bunny wants to run right into the talons of a hawk. Never thought of you as suicidal. She muses. What did you call me? Hinata demands. The bunny. You're cute, quiet, and completely harmless. The last Uchiha taunts her. I'm sure that there is someone out there for you, but Naruto isn't him. So just give it up before things get out of hand. I won't let you hurt him. Not again. Hinata continues rushing toward Suki. It's none of your business. Suki roars and blocks Hinata's attack. Meanwhile, Naruto was at the ramen shop with Gaara. Gaara had come to the leaf as soon as he heard about the engagement. The Redeed wanted to know if it was true. He wanted to hear it with his own ears and see it with his own eyes. If his best friend was getting married, he wanted to know about it. Are you and the Uchiha really engaged? Gaara looks at Naruto incredulously as they order their food. Yeah. It's a long story. The blonde sighs. I have time. I didn't travel for 3 days to eat a meal and run off. The Kazekage says. Alright. Well, Suki left. I was crushed. She was all that I could think about, but I was 12. I didn't understand why. It never went away. Not when she was at the sound or on her journey of redemption. When she got back, I was so happy. We were training and one thing led to another. At first we kept it a secret. She'd just gotten back and we didn't know how the village would react. But Kakashi decided to vouch for us. So we figured, why keep hiding it? Naruto nods sagely. I know that you didn't come up with that bullshit story on your own. So I have to admit to being impressed by the Uchiha's ability to weave a tale like that. Gaara murmurs so lowly that only Naruto could hear it. What gave it away? The leaf ninja gulps. You admitted that you thought your feelings for her were only friendship because you were too young to know any better. That's accurate, but you lack the self-awareness to realize it. The redhead answers. What are you trying to say? Did you just call me stupid? Naruto twitches. I'd never call you stupid. I'm just saying you aren't terribly introspective. You tend to act on your feelings without wondering why you have them in the first place. The Kazekage clarifies. Oh. Yeah. I guess that's true. He rubs the back of his head sheepishly. What you and the Uchiha have is love. It's a very twisted love because you are too oblivious to realize what it is, and she's likely in a very deep form of denial, but it is real. You two will end up killing each other, or as the popular saying goes, screwing like rabbits. Actually, the two are not mutually exclusive. It's quite possible that you might do both at the same time. He muses and takes a sip of his tea. Whoa, Gaara. The blonde says. Naruto didn't know what to be more shocked about. The fact that Gaara had said the phrase screwing like rabbits, or that the Redeed thought he was in love with Suki, and vice versa. He didn't even know how to respond to that. And you are still oblivious. When I was fighting her after the Chunin exams, I had her cornered. I would have killed her if you hadn't come in. You fought with your life to protect her even back then. If I am being honest with myself, that is what started to pull me out of the darkness. Realizing that it was possible to care for someone so much that your own existence's meaning paled compared to theirs continuing. Gaara continues on. I think that's the most I've ever heard you talk in one go. Naruto tries to lighten the mood. I talk when it's necessary. You need to hear it. I'm your friend. You are getting married now. It's important for your happiness and hers that you both face reality or you will face a lifetime of hurting each other, intentionally or unintentionally. He finishes. Do you really think that she loves me? I mean like that. Naruto feels rather stunned. I know so. You wouldn't be breathing if she didn't. She wouldn't be breathing if you didn't. You've both had countless opportunities to kill each other, yet you never could manage to finish it. Gaara points out. I think you are reading way too much into this. Wait, did you feel that? The blonde suddenly looks around. Each has chakra and the other chakra is vaguely familiar. I can't place it though. He muses. That's Hinata's. Are they fighting? Naruto is horrified. It certainly feels like it. We should break it up before the Uchiha kills this Hinata. With that being said, they race off towards the girls. Naruto blinks. He saw Hinata and Suki going at it. Well, Hinata was trying to attack Suki. Suki seemed content to dodge and taunt the other woman. Alright, you grab Hinata. I'll take Suki. Naruto shoots the redhead with a desperate look. Got it. The Kazekage wraps a sandy hand around the Hyuga heiress. Sand. That means Gaara is nearby. Suki instantly braces herself. It's not him you have to worry about. She hears Naruto's voice in her ear and feels his arms wrap around her waist. Hinata, was it? Gaara pulls her to him. Yes. Now let me go. She squirms against his hold. I can't do that. You realize that it was nothing short of suicidal to challenge the Uchiha in such a fashion. He states. I don't care. She's going to hurt him again. She always does. Naruto deserves to be happy. He deserves a real marriage. The brunette wouldn't give up that easily, it seemed. You love him? He murmurs. Yes, but he doesn't love me. I won't let Naruto suffer needlessly though. Not for her. The Hyuga spits out the last word like it was a poison. Your loyalty and concern for him is admirable, but that is not your decision to make. Gaara tells her gently. Loser, let go of me. This is between Hinata and Suki growls at Naruto. Look, we both know that Hinata is wicked strong, but it's still not a fair fight. What are you two fighting about anyway? The blonde shakes his head. Suki looks away from him. She wasn't going to answer that. No way in hell. She doubted that Hinata would tell him either. Was it about me? Naruto sighs. Maybe. She admits. I talked to her at the hospital. I thought she understood. Naruto mutters. You talked to her at the hospital? No wonder she's going on like this. You let her on. Suki accuses. I did not. He protests. She thinks that I tricked you into marrying me or something. That I'm just going to hurt you and that's why she's acting stupidly. Suki growls. She's just trying to be a good friend. The blonde says. Oh sure, take her side. Maybe you should be marrying her instead. Suki snarls at him. I'm not taking her side. I'm not taking anyone's side. I just don't want my wife and friend to hate each other. He yells right back at her. And let go of me. You don't get to touch me right now. The last Uchiha was fuming at him now. Naruto, I'm going to escort Hinata back to her family. Gaara calls out softly and releases Hinata, leading her off. Thanks Gaara. Naruto sighs in relief as he sees that the two of them are leaving. They really didn't need to see this. The fight between him and Suki. That seemed to be what their relationship revolved around. Fighting and a little cuddling making out. You're an idiot. She's clearly jealous. The Uchiha is doing what any self-respecting demoness would do. She's taking out the competition. That way she knows that you will only be focusing on her and your children. And she will have proven that she is the strongest. Kyuubi informs him. Kyuubi. We are human. That's really not how any of this works. But you really think she's jealous of Hinata? Naruto asks. The instincts are still there. Humans just like to dance around them. It doesn't matter though. I don't think so. I know. You better reassure her that she is your choice. Uchihas are known for being rather possessive of their lovers. You should have seen what Madara did to one ninja who tried to seduce his lover. It was vicious. I still have nightmares about it sometimes. Kyuubi confesses. And I told you to stop trying to run away from me. He counters. I'm not running. The second you let go of me, I'm going to kick your ass. Suki hisses. Then why would I let you go? The blonde questions her. Because the longer you hold on to me, the worse your beating is going to get. She answers him as if this was perfectly logical. Suki, seriously calm down. I get that Hinata upset you, but I'm not changing my mind. I'm not taking her side. I chose to marry you and that's that. He assures her. You should though. Suki suddenly goes still in his arms. Why? He asks. She's right. I do keep hurting you. The last Uchiha admits. Well, your elbow and kicks aren't exactly fun, but I'm fine. Naruto smiles at her. You know what I meant. She replies. Yeah, but that's over now. You're home. You aren't leaving again. That's all that matters. So just calm the hell down. Alright. Naruto pleads. What makes you think I'm not going to leave again? Suki demands to know. Because there is no way in hell that I'm letting you leave a third time. I'll chain you to the bed if I have to. He growls at her. Suki is speechless. Not in that way. He clarifies quickly. I was gonna say, didn't know you were into that. She laughs. I'm not the sex fiend. Seriously, what the hell do shadow clones have to do with sex? Naruto asks. If you are too stupid to figure it out, I'm not going to tell you. Suki smirks. Well, you are calling me stupid and smirking, so I guess you are back to normal. Let's go home. He says. Hey Kurama. Could you explain the shadow clone thing? He asks. Well, it's quite simple really. A classic you could say, but I don't think you are ready to hear the explanation. Kyuubi smiles smugly. Why does everyone keep saying that? He growls in his mind. Because it is true. Alright. You would make a copy or more of yourself and then you mate with the Uchiha. It is quite a beloved usage of this technique and in the ninja world as a well-known kink. He states. Naruto. You okay? Suki asks, seeing the stunned expression on her future husband's face. His eyes were bulging and his mouth was open wide enough to catch fish. You're such a pervert. Naruto yells. What are you talking about? She says and raises an eyebrow in such a calm way that it just flusters Naruto more. Kyuubi told me all about the shadow clone fetish. He flails around helplessly. I didn't realize that the Nine Tails gave people the talks. Suki laughs as if this entire situation was the funniest thing that she had ever heard. Don't try to change the subject. Naruto gives her a dirty look. I don't have a shadow clone fetish. I'm just saying that I'm surprised you don't. God knows you use that technique enough. She shakes her head. Yeah. You don't. That's why you mentioned it. He says. It's a pretty common kink amongst ninjas. Suki informs him. See, I told you so. Kyuubi smirks smugly. Still. It's weird to hear you talk about stuff like that. The blonde says. Alright. So I just won't talk about it anymore. You are the one who brought it up. She saunters off ahead of him, heading back home. Meanwhile with Gaara and Hinata, the Redeed takes her home. He felt bad for the blue beauty. She was clearly hurting. He felt he should try to offer her some sort of comfort. He didn't really know how though. He's lucky to have someone like you who cares about him so much. He offers. Thank you. Naruto attracts so many loyal people to him. I just want him to be happy. She mumbles. I understand. I hope you find happiness as well. You deserve it. He tells her. Thank you. That was nice of you to say. She offers him a smile. No thanks is necessary. It's true. He replies and heads off, trying unsuccessfully to get the image of her beautiful smile out of his head. Morning shower scene. Later that night, Suki was restless. She needed to clear her head. Hinata had rattled her cage more than she ever wanted to admit. The last Uchiha thought maybe a nice shower might relax her. That's better. She murmurs once she strips and enjoys the feeling of the warm water, soothing away all her troubles, if only for a few moments. She probably should have shut the door behind her. But Suki had lived alone so long, she didn't even think about things like shutting bathroom doors in her house. Naruto, well, he was Naruto. An open door meant it was available. So yeah, Naruto got an eyeful. He'd never actually seen Suki naked before. Kakashi was pretty good at keeping his female genin separated from Naruto when it came to things like bathing. It was all very proper. The blonde definitely hadn't seen her like this as an adult before. Wow. He suddenly understood why she still had so many admirers. MMM. She sighs softly in pleasure at the feeling of her troubles washing away, completely unaware she had an audience for now. His eyes widened. Her raven black hair was wet now and had lost its usual spiky texture, framing her ivory cream skin stunningly. Her eyes were closed, which was probably a good thing. If she found out he saw her naked, he'd die. But it would be so worth it. He felt himself blushing as he looked lower. The blonde was relieved that her silky smooth elegant neck was no longer blemished by Orochimaru's curse mark. Still, his sapphire orbs couldn't help sliding even lower. It was only human nature, after all. Her breasts were stunning. They were large and firm. He was surprised that her nipples were a tantalizing rosy pink color. Pink was definitely not a color he associated with the stoic ninja. Didn't see that coming. He murmurs, and suddenly he totally understood Jiraiya's obsession with bathhouses as his eyes continued traveling south. The only thing that might have detracted from her beauty was her arm. Well, it was still covered in bandages. Tsunade had made sure that they were waterproof. The sight of her in bandages just made him feel protective though. Her stomach was toned, he hadn't expected anything else really. Suki had wide hips, he didn't know why that excited him, but it did. They fanned out into perfectly shaped asses. He had felt that earlier, while they were walking. But placing his hand on it while it was covered and seeing it uncovered were two completely different things according to his lower half. I should probably go before she catches me. He mumbles to himself, but he can't look away. He dared himself to glance lower. He'd never actually seen a naked woman up close before. Jiraiya had usually gone into the bathhouses alone, and while he had the sexy jutsu, it wasn't like he spent much time looking at herself in that form. She had long legs, considering Suki was average in height, and that was being fairly generous. They seemed to go on forever and were so shapely. Her thighs were powerful looking. He wasn't sure where his brain drew that conclusion from, but he decided to roll with it. You're truly pathetic. She's your mate and you act as though you should feel guilty for looking at her. Kyuubi mocks him. Shut up. I should. I mean she didn't give me permission to look. He says. She agreed to marry you. I'd say that counts as permission. Kyuubi counters. Despite his bickering with Kyuubi, his problem definitely wasn't going away. Fuck. He should probably head to the other bathroom and take a cold shower. An ice-cold shower. We are talking like snow country in the dead of winter, level of cold. Yeah, that might help. Is someone there? Suki calls out, suddenly feeling like she was being watched. End of shower scene. What you and the Uchiha have is love. It's a very twisted love because you are too oblivious to realize what it is, and she's likely in a very deep form of denial, but it is real. You two will end up killing each other or as the popular saying goes, screwing like rabbits. Actually, the two are not mutually exclusive. It's quite possible that you might do both at the same time. Naruto winces as Gaara's words rang in his ears. He tried to rationalize his friend's words away. It was normal to be physically attracted to a beautiful woman. He'd always known that she was beautiful, even when they were kids. But he didn't think about it much. It was just a fact of life. It was like looking at the moon. Yeah, it's pretty and all but you didn't actually expect to touch it. Just because he found her attractive didn't mean he was in love with her. Rather, a torturous hour later, Naruto's problem was solved for the time being. It took that long because said problem kept coming back. Finally, his body had decided to calm down though. He quickly dries off and dresses. He was surprised when he went to his room and saw Suki there. Her hair was partially air-dried. She'd thrown on a bathrobe. Oh for God's sakes. Now that he knew what was underneath that thing, his mind wouldn't shut off the mental images of her in the shower. His problem was back. Suki? He asks. I'm probably being silly but. She trails off. But what? He questions her. I felt like someone was in the house. I didn't see anyone, but I still can't shake the feeling that I was being watched. She shakes her head. Oh. He inwardly winced, feeling guilty. While I was in the shower. She continues. You've had a stressful couple of weeks. You are probably just imagining it. Naruto feels even more guilty about lying. Maybe. It wouldn't be the first time though. She mutters. Wouldn't it be the first time? He inquires. That someone tried to watch me while I was showering or bathing. She says with a shrug. Wait. What do you mean? He demands. The sound was full of a lot of people who were just as bad as Jiraiya. She says offhandedly, as if she was discussing unpleasant weather. Wait what someone, no more than one person was trying to spy on you while you were showering in the sound he asks, suddenly feeling very angry. Suki realizes that might not have been the smartest thing to say. She had felt vulnerable for a few minutes. So like she had done as a child, she'd gone into the room of the nearest person who she knew would care that she was upset. Of course this was Naruto. This wasn't Itachi. And this was about someone possibly being a voyeur and not a scary thunderstorm. So the situation was different yet similar at the same time. Don't worry about it. It's in the past. I'm more worried now. Someone might be in the house. She tells him. No. I wanna know. He growls and Suki was a bit alarmed to see his teeth were lengthening, fingernails were becoming claws, his eyes taking on a more animal appearance, and that trademark nine tails chakra. Mostly they tried to look. A few tried to touch. It didn't end well for them. She smirks, obviously trying to soothe his ire. Well if anyone tries that again, let me know. I'll tear them apart. He promises and Suki shivers. She wasn't afraid of Naruto. Suki would never be afraid of him. It wasn't that she was concerned about some random pervert that might face Naruto's wrath. They deserved what they got. It was the dark possession in his voice. It excited her. Idly, Suki realized how messed up that was, but there wasn't anything she could do about it at the moment. So she shoves that thought to the back of her mind. I'll be sure to let you know. She agrees. Good. If it will make you feel better, you can stay with me. He offers. It would. Just to be on the safe side. I'm not entirely certain the council wouldn't try to have me assassinated in my sleep. She admits. I'd never let that happen. He tells her. I know. She says. Good. he says and hops into the bed with her, turning off the lights. She agrees. Suki waited until she thought Naruto was asleep. Then she grabbed his arms and wrapped them around her. She felt safer this way. Protected. The brunette would never admit this to him though. But while he was asleep, she could indulge her inner child who just wanted someone to chase away the monsters. Even if those monsters were only perverts trying to get their rocks off or just the result of her being overly paranoid. Naruto was good at chasing away the monsters, she decided as she drifted off into a peaceful sleep. Chapter 5. Naruto had forgotten. It had been a long time since he'd been on a mission with Suki with Team 7. Still he should have remembered that Suki always volunteered to take the first watch. Suki Uchiha was a night owl. It made sense really. She was definitely a creature of the night. Her dark hair, her moonlight-colored skin, the way she could move with absolute silence. Really everything about her reminded him of the dark. "I'll let her sleep in." He murmurs and gets out of the bed, starting to change into his Jonin uniform. So it shouldn't have surprised him that he woke up before her. Like nearly every other facet of their lives, they were polar opposites. He couldn't help but smile at how peaceful she looked. Yeah, it would have been wrong to wake her. Suki had been comfortable. But then her pillow moved away from her and suddenly she felt colder than before. How dare her pillow leave her? Wait, pillows couldn't just get up and walk away. Her eyes flutter open. "Oh." She murmurs under her breath. Looked like Naruto remembered she liked to sleep in when given the option. He was in the middle of changing his clothes. Thankfully, his back was towards her. So Suki didn't see everything, but she saw enough to send her imagination into overdrive. She'd seen him shirtless before. That was just a given. Male ninjas tended to discard their shirts rather quickly or they got torn easily during training and battles. That was back when they were genin though. His back was muscular and his shoulders were broad. She couldn't see his front, but she imagined judging by the biceps and obvious power that she could see from behind that he likely was sporting some equally impressive abs. Naruto's tan was thorough, she noted, very thorough stretching all the way from his face to his powerful legs. Hell, even his backside was sun-kissed. Did he sunbathe naked? Suki decided he had to for the tan to be that consistent. "Nice ass, Uzumaki." Suki smacked said posterior with a pillow. She really didn't know what came over her. It was a very nice ass though. Exceptionally firm, really. Still, she definitely shouldn't have done that. Now he knew that she had been looking. Naruto was never going to let her live this one down. "Thanks, yours isn't so bad either." He pins her to the bed playfully. "Who are you and what have you done with Naruto? That should have made you blush and act like an idiot. It's no fun if you don't freak out." Suki could only hope that she sounded more confident than she felt. In reality, Suki was one flustered Uchiha. She could feel the heat from his body as he held her down. Naruto seemed to be enjoying her being flustered because he smirks. She'd never seen him look that way before. There was something predatory about it. It made her shiver, but in a good way. "That's better. Now claim her. You know that you want to. You should have done it last night, but now will suffice." She clearly wants you to or she wouldn't have made that signal. Kyuubi goads him. "She was just playing around. It's not like she smacks my ass with a pillow and Suki jumps on me." Naruto growls in annoyance. "You're hopeless. Absolutely hopeless. A real demon would have already claimed her." Kyuubi shakes his head and heads back to his corner of Naruto's mind, silent for now. "You're blushing. It's fun when you freak out." He mocks her. "I'm not blushing." She protests. "Yes, you are." Naruto was never going to let her live this down. They'd both been too caught up in each other to sense Kakashi's chakra. Kakashi hadn't been in the Uchiha district since long before the massacre. He'd gone there a few times to pick up Obito for training. It was strange now, seeing it so empty. It didn't take him long to figure out which house was Suki's. It was the only one with the lights on. He knocked. No answer. Well, the door wasn't locked, so he let himself in. "Naruto?" "Suki?" Kakashi frowns when he doesn't get an answer. The silver-haired ninja would be lying if he said that he wasn't worried. So naturally, Kakashi searches the entire house. Eventually, he winds up where the bedrooms were located. Unfortunately, he had been too worried to bother knocking. "Well, I see that you two are getting along better than I expected. Sorry to interrupt." Kakashi smiled mischievously. "Kakashi-sensei." Naruto flails and Suki blushes red like a tomato. No. It's fine. You are both adults and I can hardly lecture you. You are engaged." He chuckles. "This is not what it looks like." Suki growls. "You mean that Naruto isn't naked on top of you and you weren't blushing?" The Hokage asks in amusement. "Well. Yeah, that part is true. But we weren't." She trails off. "Restoring the Uchiha clan together?" He offers helpfully. "Exactly." She says. "Well, of course not. That was more like foreplay. Still, I am sorry I interrupted. I knocked but no one answered. I can see you were distracted." He chuckles. Kakashi. Stop being a damn pervert. Naruto scowls. Says the man with his blushing bride pinned underneath him while he's naked. Well. Almost a bride. I can come back later if you need some alone time. I'm sure Sakura will understand. He adds. What does this have to do with Sakura? Suki raises an eyebrow and ignores the obvious innuendo for now. Well, you are scheduled to have your arm looked at. Your appointment was an hour ago. That's why I came to get you. Sakura was worried. You've never been late before. He explains. Oh. I completely forgot. I'll be there in a few minutes. Suki says and wriggles out from underneath Naruto. Great. Naruto, Gaara asked me to see if you would be interested in joining him for lunch. Kakashi adds. Oh yeah. That sounds great. Kakashi, would you freaking turn around so I can get dressed? He snaps at him. I'll just go wait in the kitchen. He says and walks out of the room. Suki clearly had already gotten to her room. She shut the door behind her. Naruto mentally pouts at this. It meant he wasn't going to get another view of her naked again. Then he slaps himself. She was his friend. He shouldn't be staring at her like some sort of pervert. Hey Naruto. I'm gonna head to the hospital to have my arm looked at. I heard Kakashi talk about Gaara. So I'll just see you later. Suki shouts through the door. Yeah? Sounds good. Let me know what she says. He hollers back. I will. Suki says and she walks off with Kakashi. So I take it that things are going well. Kakashi states slyly as they head to the hospital. Better than expected. She answers evasively. Were you planning on teaching him how to play doctor today? He chuckles. No. Suki glares at him as they arrive at the hospital. Well, that's unfortunate for him. I'm sure he'd enjoy it. He's always been rather playful. This is where I leave you, I'm afraid. The silver-haired ninja couldn't resist prodding her one final time before darting off. Suki, you okay? Why do you look like you want to punch someone? Sakura asks in confusion. Our former sensei is getting on my last nerve. She mutters and heads into the exam room. Kakashi does like to tease. How is your arm feeling? The pink-haired woman looks at her with concern. I don't feel it much really. The pain meds are really effective. The other woman answers. That's good. How about how it feels psychologically? The medic encourages Suki. Odd. Heavy. I have the urge to just cut it off. Naruto wouldn't let me though. Feels like my body wants to reject it. The last Uchiha replies truthfully. That's natural. It would have been easier if you didn't wait several years. But it was going to feel at best odd, no matter what. Naruto wouldn't let you, huh? Sakura asks in amusement. I know and yeah. You know how stubborn he is. Suki shrugs. Yes. Usually you fight him though. Her green-eyed teammate laughs as she looks at Suki's arm. Usually, 2 arms will prove useful. So no point in arguing over it. She answers. Your chakra pathways are connecting faster than usual. Have you been adding any extra treatments that I should know about? Sakura questions her curiously. Naruto. Rubs it a lot. He says it stimulates blood flow or something. She admits. It does. It also stimulates chakra flow. Well, it looks good so far. Just keep changing your bandages regularly. You can try to move it a little bit now, but take it easy. It's going to be very painful at first, and don't try to use chakra with that arm yet either. She warns her. I won't. Suki promises. So what's this I hear about an epic love story and a hot training session leading to a proposal? Sakura asks in a way that said, don't even try to bullshit me. You're going to tell me the truth. We decided it would be better to try to make the marriage look real to the public. Helps me assimilate back into village life if they think their hero loves me and vice versa. That and. I'll admit I enjoy fucking with the council's heads after everything. She confesses. I thought so. Who came up with that love story? Sakura giggles. I did. Suki answers. Really? I always thought that Naruto was the romantic of you two. Her teammate looks positively shocked. I can be when I want to be. Besides, I know this village. I know what they want to hear. They all bought it like the suckers they are. Suki smirks at the thought. Speaking of sucking. Sakura just wouldn't stop giggling. Sakura, don't go there. Suki flowers at her friend. What's this about you playing doctor? Obviously, they possessed zero survival instincts. Oh, that's it. Suki lunges at her, and the 2 women roll around on the floor in their play fight. Just saying if you want to restore your clan, he'd probably warm up to the idea a lot faster if you showed him some affection. You can use your mouth for things other than breathing fire. You know that right? She laughs and tries to dodge Suki's punch. It's disturbing how much you think about the 2 of us like that. Suki scoffs. We are friends. Friends talk about their boyfriends with each other. Well, in your case, husband. Besides, everyone is curious. You 2 fight so viciously. So that means your cuddle time has to be pretty amazing. I mean there is a lot of passion there. Sakura laughs madly. Non-existent. Suki answers her. Really? Sakura blinks in confusion. He's just marrying me to prevent me from going to a show trial. They'd find an excuse to execute me. You know Naruto. He'll always protect me. No matter how stupid it is to do so. Suki continues. And that doesn't tell you anything. She smacks her forehead in frustration. But he has a hero complex and he's loyal to the point of stupidity, yes. Yes, it does. Suki nods sagely as if that explained everything. Sakura just shakes her head. Meanwhile elsewhere in the village, Naruto meets up with Gaara. The blonde asks his friend if he wants to see his new home. Gaara seemed a bit skeptical at first. Are you sure that's a good idea? The Uchiha wouldn't be upset. He questions. I doubt she'll mind. Besides, she's going to be at the hospital for a while. She got her arm replaced and is getting a checkup. The blue-eyed ninja grins at him. Alright. I am curious to see the district, actually. The Kazuki admits as he follows his friend. Great. Naruto takes the redhead to their home. It's rather large. How big was her clan anyway? The redhead muses. She said a couple hundred people. So Gaara, what would you like? Suki's kinda a health nut. So if you like rabbit food we have lots of that. Plus I have ramen. Some steaks too. He laughs as if he had just let the other man in on some great secret. Streak sounds good. Gaara replies. Alright. Do you know how to cook? I mean usually Suki does it. I can make ramen but that's about it. Naruto blushes in embarrassment. Yes, I can make them. The Uchiha actually cooks. For you? Gaara was clearly shocked. Yeah. I guess she's worried I'll burn the house down or something. She's really good at it too. He says. The Uchiha is a doting housewife. Now I've seen everything. The Kazuki shakes his head, preparing the meal. The Kazuki cooking. Now I've seen everything. The blonde taunts him. I deserved that one. So how's it going? Besides the fight with Hinata. A pair of seafoam green eyes stare at Naruto in concern. Well, it's different than I expected. She seems fine with the whole pretending thing. Didn't realize she was such a good actress. Well, I think the journey kinda mellowed her out a bit. Normally, she wouldn't let me touch her if we weren't fighting. But now, well. We've slept together a couple times. He says. Really? How was it? Who topped? I guess that does explain the cat fight. The redhead chuckles. Not like that you pervert. I mean actual sleep, not the other kind. He exclaims. Naruto, she's going to be your wife. There's really no need to get so flustered about it. Gaara offers. I'm not flustered. He protests. If you say so, my friend. The redhead tries his best not to laugh. I say so. The blonde confirms. So you are saying she let you sleep by her. That's unexpected and more affectionate than expected. That's a good sign. So. Does anything else happen? Gaara looks at him curiously. If I tell you. You won't tell anyone, right? I mean it's kinda driving me crazy. I have to tell someone about it. If I tell her, she'll Chidori my nuts off. Naruto says. Yes, I could see the Uchiha using that technique for castration. She can be quite vicious. You have my word. Whatever you say to me will be held in the strictest confidence. Gaara assures him. I kinda saw her in the shower. Naruto admits. And you are still alive. Kazuki's eyes widened in amazement. She doesn't know that I did. He mumbles. Uh-huh. Gaara says. I mean. I don't want to get the hell beaten out of me. I couldn't fight back. I'd deserve it. But she saw me when I was changing. My back was towards her though. So she didn't get the full view like I did. Then she slapped my ass with a pillow and said, nice ass, Uzumaki. But I think she was just trying to mess with me. She does that. The blonde couldn't help but feel how fast and furious the words were pouring out of his mouth. Yes, she does do that. You're right. It is difficult to talk with her. Without going into details, a simple yes or no will do. Did you find her attractive? The redhead questions. I know it's wrong to look at a friend like that, but yeah. No one can look at Suki and think she isn't beautiful. He says. R rolls his eyes. His friend needed some sense slapped into him. He was just the Kazuki for the job. His hand forms into a human-sized hand and gives the blonde a good smack to the back of the head. Oh. What was that for? He whines. I'm slapping some sense into you. Gaara explains. Geez. The blonde growls. You are going to get married. She's no longer just your friend. She's going to be your wife. It is a good thing to be attracted to your wife. There's no reason to feel guilty. It is not like you intentionally were spying on her. Gaara-san gets a few more slaps in. Ow. Damn it. Gaara. Cut that out. Naruto demands. I'll cut it out when the point successfully makes it through your extremely thick skull. The redhead says smoothly, unconcerned about the fact that Naruto looked like he wanted to kill the youngest Kage. Alright. Alright. You're right. I shouldn't feel guilty. It's only natural. He trails off. That's better. Gaara says approvingly and he retracts his hand for the moment. Yeah. Still if she finds out, I am going to so fucked. And not in a good way. Naruto mutters. The Uchiha has never struck me as a particularly shy woman. It's true that her clothing choices are fairly conservative, but I doubt she's as bashful as say Hinata. She'd likely understand it was just a mistake. Gaara reassures him. Thanks for taking Hinata home, by the way. I feel horrible about all this. She's so nice. I know she liked me. But I just don't, you know. He lets Gaara fill in the blanks. Feel that way about her? I understand. I think she's beginning to understand. You always like doing things the hard way. So it's not surprising that you would ignore a beautiful woman who would do anything you ask in favor of a beautiful woman who has nearly killed you multiple times. Honestly, I'm starting to wonder if maybe you aren't just a masochist. The redhead ponders out loud. I am not a mas. Wait, what does that even mean? Naruto asks. Someone who is sexually aroused by pain. The other man smiles at him teasingly. Oh. No. I'm definitely not that, and where do you learn that word from anyway? The blonde demands. Good to know, and Kakashi sent me a copy of one of Jiraiya's books for my birthday. That's where I learned it from. Gaara laughs as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. What's good to know? Naruto, what's Gaara doing here? Suki asks as she walks through the door. Oh hey. You're back. How'd it go? Never mind. Well, Gaara was visiting and I figured I'd show him where I'm living now. You don't mind, do you? Naruto gulps a bit nervously. Well, he did try to kill me, but in all fairness I gave him a scar and attacked the Cage Summit later on. So I guess we are even. She shrugs casually. I don't have an issue with you, Uchiha. I wanted to thank you for killing Deidara, by the way. He adds as an afterthought. Oh, that's right. He's the one who kidnapped you, wasn't he? Suki says. Yes. Gaara answers with a nod. Something smells good. Didn't know you cooked kazukiage. It can't be Naruto's doing. Ramen is the limit of his culinary expertise. She sounds slightly amused. Hey. Naruto protests. It's true and you know it. Suki replies. Yeah, I guess. The blonde grumbles. I'll see you two later. I'm supposed to join my sister and her husband for dinner. The redhead chuckles. I still can't believe Lazy Brows and Temari are married. Naruto shakes his head in shock. Me neither. How does that even work? Suki tilts her head as though trying to imagine such a thing actually working out. I still haven't figured it out, myself. Gaara nods sagely as he makes a rather hasty exit. So how'd your appointment go? Naruto figures he might as well try again now that Gaara is gone. Better than expected. Sakura was really impressed. She thinks the rubbing helps stimulate the chakra networks. She smiles. Aha. I told you so. The sapphire-eyed ninja smiles smugly. Suki smiles softly. It was cute. He was so smug about it. The last Uchiha shakes her head in amusement and sits on the couch. You want me to do it again? I mean, since she said it helps. He offers. Yeah. She nods her head and Naruto soon joins her. She lets out a rather undignified squeak when he pulls her into his lap. Naruto laughs. She scowls at him. It's just easier this way. He glides his hand over her arm. I'm not a rag doll. Just because you're bigger doesn't mean you get to throw your weight around. Suki gives him a dirty look. I know you aren't a rag doll. Believe me, I've got the scars to prove it. Naruto continues the gentle massage. Good. She leans back into his hold, closing her eyes in contentment. Naruto looks down at Suki. He couldn't help it. His eyes kept drifting to her neck. It was always such a relief to see the curse mark gone. A growl unconsciously escaped his lips when he thought about it. Naruto? Suki looks at him slightly alarmed. Yeah? He honestly didn't know what was making her look at him that way. You're growling. The look still hadn't gone away, but at least now Naruto knew what had caught her attention so much. Oh sorry. Just. Thinking. He probably shouldn't growl at her if it freaks Suki. About. The brunette questions. The curse mark. Naruto sighs because there really wasn't any point in lying. What about it? It's gone. Suki inquires in confusion. I know. I'm just really glad it's gone. I didn't like seeing it on you. He acted like you were his toy. He growls again. Doesn't matter now. It's gone. She assures him. He didn't know why, but it set him off like nothing else. Even thinking about seeing that mark on his neck made him want to tear something apart. A dark possessiveness rose up in him. For some reason, he suddenly really wanted to lay some sort of claim on her. Something that other people would see. Suki gasps when she feels Naruto's teeth on her neck. He was biting her. It didn't hurt. It was a light bite. The brunette squirmed and tried to wiggle out of his lap. Stay. He gives her a warning look. Suki wisely decided to stay put. Maybe Kyuubi was messing with him somehow. Kyuubi was a fox demon. It would explain the biting. Either way, Naruto's teeth were beginning to feel suspiciously sharp. Too sharp. Fuck. She decided not to move. She didn't want to get a chunk of her neck ripped out. But girl. He murmurs and begins to alternate placing kisses, licks, and bites along her neck. NHHH. Suki arches back into him more, moaning and tilting her neck to the side. Better. At least you marked her. For a few days anyway. Kyuubi practically purrs with approval. By what Naruto asks. I imagine those love bites will be visible for at least a few days, and it seems that she does enjoy receiving them. Kyuubi clarifies. Shit. Damn it. Suki. I'm so sorry. He says. It's okay. It was just necking. She shivers, still remembering the feeling of his hot mouth on her neck. I shouldn't have done that without asking first. I didn't bite you too hard, did I? He asks in concern. Naruto, I lost my arm in the war. I think I can handle a few nips to my neck. Besides, I think you went Kyuubi. It's not like you did it on purpose. She reasons, being surprisingly forgiving about all of this. Want Kyuubi? He looks at her completely baffled. Sometimes. You act like a fox. I guess we should be grateful you didn't have a slug demon or something. Your teeth will get longer, your eyes change, your fingernails look like claws. And your chakra changes to his. She elaborates. Oh. So you aren't mad. The blonde almost couldn't believe it. No, I'm not mad. Good thing I wear high collars. Suki laughs. That kinda defeats the purpose of marking you. He half hisses in irritation. Sorry, what was that? Suki raises an eyebrow. Nothing. Forget it. So you want any of the steaks Gaara made? He questions. Steak sounds good. She says. Chapter 6. Morning love letter. You're my everything. I can't get the taste of your lips off of my mind. The feeling of your silky tresses teasing my skin as I hold you in my arms and plunge further into you, drawing us both closer to ecstasy. Your voice sounds like an angel's. But your eyes and body could lead any man into sin. Everything about you is beautiful, from your ample breasts to the sensual curve of your hips to the way you wrap your lovely legs around me and gorgeous bottom. We should be returning home soon. It has been a long mission. The other men are currently visiting a brothel. I do not blame them. While distasteful, it is natural to desire the comforts that only a woman can provide. Yet, I sit here alone and can think only of you. Sometimes, I think you are a witch who has cast a spell on me. But I know you are not capable of such deceit. My darling and sweet Mikoto, wait for me. I will be home soon. Yours always, Fugaku. End of love letter. Damn. Naruto finishes reading the old love letter. He knew it was wrong to read such a personal letter from Suki's parents. It's not like he had done it on purpose. He had just seen a sheet of paper and naturally started reading. Now his imagination was in overtime though. Fugaku had painted quite the detailed picture with his words. The blonde tried to stop it from happening, but it was a futile fight. Soon enough he was imagining Suki kissing and riding him. The fact that he had seen her naked in the shower, well, that just made the picture more vivid. He also now, thanks to the necking, had a fairly good idea what Suki's angel voice would be like. This meant that he had quite the erotic fantasy to work with. Damn it. Now, he really did need a shower. An ice-cold one at that. Preferably, before Suki showed up. What is it? Suki walks in and Naruto mentally curses the fact that Suki was so silent. She could sneak up on anyone at any time, from anywhere. Nothing. Nothing. Just found some old stuff in the attic. You said that we should start going through stuff. Naruto gulps nervously. You're right. I did. It's not good for everything to just collect dust, but you said nothing a little too quickly. Give it here. Suki demands as she waits for Naruto to give her what he had found. I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, it'd be kinda creepy for you to read it. Naruto was going to try to reason with her, but Suki grabs the letter and begins reading too quickly for him to stop her. Oh. She blinks in shock as her cheeks burn with embarrassment. Yeah. I mean, I remember you telling me they weren't that affectionate in public. So I sorta knew they had to be more loving in private. But damn. Your dad could have made Jiraiya blush. Naruto rubs the back of his head anxiously. I'm glad they were happy once. I could have lived without the vivid description of the actual happiness. Suki was blushing almost as badly as Hinata now. Your dad had a game. I mean, like, seriously. Naruto laughed. Can we not discuss my parents' ex-life ever again? Suki begs. Hey. I tried to warn you. The blonde says defensively. Well, what else is in the box? Suki looks at it as if she expected a snake to jump out of it and start biting them. Some more letters. I'm not sure if we should risk reading those. There's lots of pictures. Some old things like that. There's a baby's blanket, probably Itachi since it's blue. Oh, and some jewelry. Her future husband nods. Oh look, that's my mother's academy graduation picture. Suki smiles at the picture. Really? Which one? He asks. Suki pulls it out and lets him see. Mikoto, Naruto knew that it was her because she was a dead ringer for Suki, standing next to a redeed. He recognized a red head, that was his mother. Sure, she was younger there than he had ever seen her, but it was her. Your mom and mine knew each other? Naruto inquires. It looks that way. Suki answers. You look almost exactly like your mom. Well, your hair is more spiky and you have more unapproachable vibe than she did, but yeah. More like twins than mother and daughter. He muses. And you look a lot like your father. Suki shrugs, mercifully not getting angry at his assessment. Do you really think so? Thanks. Naruto grins in response. Blonde, blue eyes, and tan. It's pretty obvious. She points out. That's so, especially when you put it like that. Well, it made sense when she put it that way, but still Naruto couldn't help but smile at that. Wait, that one's a letter from your mom to mine. Guess she must have asked yours to keep it once she read it. Naruto nods energetically. That should be safe to read. If you want to read it alone, I understand. Suki hands it to him. Nah. It's cool. I mean, I read your dad's letter. It's only fair. Besides, this is between two women. It's not like it's going to be like the other one. He reasons and begins reading. Dear Kushina, thank you for watching Suki and Itachi while Fugaku and I were enjoying our anniversary in the land of tea. It's truly adorable how Suki raises her arms widely and says Narnar over and over again. I think she is trying to say Naruto. She's just beginning to make babbling sounds now. But I would swear it on my life that I think she understands that you are pregnant. Itachi is adorable with Suki. Truly, it is a wonder how gentle he is with her. Fugaku is more skittish. I think he is afraid of breaking her. He didn't have that fear with Itachi. I believe it is because she is a girl. He's very old-fashioned that way. I think fondly of our genin days, but I don't regret my choice to retire. Itachi and Suki bring me great joy. Have you decided yet if you are going to go back on active duty after you have Naruto? We will be home in a few days. I already miss holding her and Itachi's warm smile. Your friend always, Mikoto. Narnar really? Naruto raises an eyebrow. Whatever. I wasn't even a year old. That's as close as a baby is getting to pronouncing your name. She gives him a dirty look. I guess I should call you Susu. He taunts her. Oh, that's it. Suki tackles him. Naruto laughs. It was fun to tease her. Getting a reaction out of her, any reaction was always the highlight of his day. Then he realized, fuck. He was still excited from that damn letter. Suki realized. Yeah, she definitely realized. Naruto could tell by how she suddenly froze up and gingerly got off of him. So I guess you need some time alone. I'm gonna go. I'll get my dress while you take care of that. You can't see it. It's bad luck. She says. Oh come on, you don't actually believe that. Naruto asks, shocked that she bought into that superstition. Damn right I do. I'll see you later, loser. She heads off. Damn it. That could have gone better. Well, at least he hadn't been beaten black and blue or called a pervert, he guessed. Suki heads to the bridal shop. She looks at the windows from the outside. Was she actually going through with this? Didn't he deserve better? She bites her lower lip. Cold feet? Someone asks. No, of course not. She crosses her arms defiantly. Your arms are crossed. That's a defensive posture. Your words say no, your body says otherwise. She turns around to see who was addressing her. You are really reading way too much into it. Suki flowers. I think you are already bored of him. You spent years running away from this place. Now you expect everyone to believe you got a fairy tale romance thing going on? He asks. Suki recognized him vaguely. He was high up in the bingo book. He was Jonin level. Actually more like Anbo level. This wasn't the average pervert on the street. She might even break a nail if she had to face him if he kept pushing his luck. She smirks. Smirking because I figured out your secret, princess. So what were you planning on doing? Marrying him and then a sword in his chest on the honeymoon? The man obviously had a death wish. I'm going to enjoy killing you slowly. Suki could feel her fingers itch to form a chidori. I'm not going to tell anyone. Actually, if you need any help killing him or restoring your clan afterwards, I'd be glad to lend a hand or more. He tries to caress her ass. Sand smashes the man into the wall. Suki blinks and notices Gaara. Damn it, how much had he heard? I will leave now. The Uchiha won't be anywhere near as gentle as Gaara gives the man a warning look as the coward dashes off. You alright? Gaara asks. Fine. He was just a creep. Suki mutters bitterly. The creep who is highly sought after in the bingo book. The redeed states. You recognized him too, huh? She questions. I memorize every face in that book. So yes. So. Wedding dresses. Not a topic of which I can boast of being an expert, but I did sit through my sister's selection of one. He muses. Are you offering to help me shop for a wedding dress? Suki snorts at the thought. I suppose I am. The redhead nods. I'll try to be less more torturous about it than Tamari surely was. She gives him a small smile as the two of them walk inside the shop together. How kind of you. Kazukiage replies. It's a strange world. One day I'm attacking the cage summit and the next, I'm shopping for a wedding dress with a cage. She muses as she looks at the various gowns. I wouldn't worry about it. Naruto doesn't love you for your fashion choices, and if it's a real honeymoon, it won't stay on long anyway. He offers. Gaara. Suki could feel her face turning redder than a tomato. Uchiha, you aren't Naruto. I know you are more aware of such things. Gaara shrugs as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. I'm aware of them. Doesn't mean that they will happen. She selects one of the gowns and goes into a changing stall to try it on. Do you believe me when I tell you that he loves you? Gaara sounds genuinely curious. I've never known you to lie. I know you believe he does. He loves me as a comrade, as a teammate, as a friend, and as a sister. Not as a lover. She answers. Those hickeys on your neck tell me that the last part is most certainly debatable. Don't even try to deny that they are from him. We may not be friends. But I know you well enough to realize you are many things, but unfaithful is not one of them. The Kazukiage apparently wasn't going to back down. I think that was a compliment. She looks at herself in the mirror. No. No. It was far too loose and flowy. Suki would trip on this thing while going down the aisle. It looked better on the rack. And I think you are avoiding answering my question. Gaara shoots her a pointed look. She comes out. Suki places the dress back where she found it. The last Uchiha looks at the other options. Lace, silk, satin. So many choices. Uchiha. He says warningly. Alright. Yes, the hickeys are from him. She admits. I thought so. You don't give someone you view as a sister mark like those. Well, not unless you are a very sick individual. He adds as an afterthought. They don't count. Not really. She says as she runs her hands along the silken fabric of one of the dresses. What do you mean, they don't count? He asks, utterly baffled. He was going Kyuubi. She answers him. And that means what exactly? Kazukiage asks. Sometimes. Kyuubi rubs off on him a bit. He acts like a fox. He takes on some fox-like traits. His teeth get sharper, his eyes become slits, and things of that nature. His personality becomes more aggressive, more animalistic. Suki explains. And you don't view his actions in that state as sincere? The man asks. Yes and no. I don't think he has control of himself like that. They are sincere. Sincerely Kyuubi. She responds. Do you really think the fox demon is responsible for giving you love bites? Gaara inquires. Sorta. He might not like me much, but he knows that we are engaged. So I'm his mate. I'm strong. I'm of reproductive age. So yes, I think he'd probably want to. Mark me. Scare away the other males. She answers. Have you talked to Naruto about these concerns? The cage questions. Not exactly. I told him that I knew he was going Kyuubi. But we've never really discussed it at length. The brunette answers honestly. I think that's just an excuse you use. You're Naruto. Naruto has always missed the obvious. You don't. Do you love him? He asks. Do you love him? It was amazing what 4 little words could trigger. Suki suddenly felt unsteady. She felt like her knees would buckle under her. Such power evoked a simple question. With Gaara at least, she could be honest. Suddenly 1,000 images flashed through her mind at once. At first they were from their Team 7 and Academy days. A fight she'd had with him as a small child at the Academy. The kiss. Silly things like how they had competed at everything from who could eat the most to who was the fastest. Trying to get rid of Kakashi's damn mask. The fight with Haku. The Chunin exams. Quickly her memories caught up with the present. The hurt in his eyes when she left. The valley of the end. Meeting again years later. The war. Coming back. Leaving again. More pain in those beautiful eyes of his. Her coming back. The kiss and the hickeys. His naked form. And his gentle touch as he stroked her newly transplanted arm. Yes, but I can't tell him that. My love is a death sentence. It always has been. She murmurs. Well, at least you admitted it. He's still in denial. Gaara states. If you had asked me a few days ago, I would have said he's too innocent to love someone romantically. His love is childlike. Pure and unwavering. Now, if nothing else, his body definitely responds like an adult's would. She sighs while admiring the wedding dress. Well, this looked better. She wouldn't trip on this one, but still ace. Nah, that was too fragile if she decided she wanted to keep it. She changes back and puts that one on the rack. I don't want graphic details, but would you care to vaguely elaborate on that? The Redeed asks. Not particularly, but since you asked, his snake summon was ready to play. She shrugs. His snake summon? But you are the one with the snake summon contract. Gaara looks confused. The other snake summon. The last Uchiha smacks her forehead. Oh. Well, he did admit that he was attracted to you when he told me about accidentally walking in on you while you were showering. He muses. Be what she demands. Forget I said that. The Kazukiage gulps in terror. No way in hell. That bastard. I can't believe him. I told him that I thought someone was in the house and he didn't say anything. She growls. You just admitted to being in love with him a minute ago and now you're calling him a name. Gaara looks at her in an utterly baffled way. I never said that I was logical when it came to my feelings. She mutters. Well, you got me there. Maybe you should stay here for a while until you calm down. He offers. You're right. I should be rational about this. It was going to happen sooner or later. I mean, we are living together. The raven-haired woman shakes her head. That's right. Good Ichiha. Gaara nods approvingly. Gaara, I'm not a dog. Suki twitches. You're right. You've always struck me as more of a cat person. He concedes. Suki looks around at the other dresses. It took another half hour and she found another dress to try on. Suki had always believed herself to be immune to such sentimental notions as a wedding dress. The dress was a dress, but she had to admit that she liked it. She smiles and changes back to her regular clothes and then pays for it. Morning lime. Naruto growls in frustration. Fugaku's love letter combined with seeing Suki naked in the shower had sent his imagination into overdrive. Honestly, before the kiss and the shower incident, he'd never thought about her or anyone specifically that way. Yes, he had fantasies like anyone else, but never about anyone he knew. He should have known though. It really wasn't healthy to be as focused on one person as he was on Suki. His need to get her back had just made hormones take a backseat. Now they definitely wanted to punish him for ignoring them. To make matters worse, she had seen the state he was in and left. She just blamed the letter and he guessed he should be happy that she didn't kick his ass for getting turned on by her father's love letter, but that's all she thought it was. She didn't know that he was picturing her when he read it. Fuck. He hisses in pleasure as strokes himself faster, imagining his own hand being replaced by a smaller and paler one. Suki gets home. She doesn't see Naruto. Frowning, she goes looking for him. She'd been gone for at least an hour. The last Uchiha wasn't exactly an expert on the subject, but she figured he'd be decent by now. Yeah, she was wrong. Naruto's stamina apparently applied in other areas such as self-pleasuring. She hears him hiss. Fuck. Naruto hisses and Suki shivers. She was standing in the hallway. He at some point must have gone back to his room. The door was open, but she was pressed against the way and out of sight of it. It was wrong. She knew that, but it was like staring at a tornado. You knew that you should get the hell out of there, but you just stood there frozen. Well, in Suki's case it wasn't staring, more like listening, but she wasn't going to argue over technicalities like that. Suki felt herself shiver again. Naruto was loud. He was actually growling in a way that heated her blood. This was animalistic. She squirms a bit as the sounds of his pants, moans, and growls start to affect her. She'd never thought of herself as a voyeur, but Naruto had a way of proving her wrong. Suki. He practically snarls her name and she feels herself blush. Gaara wasn't lying about him being attracted to me. She mutters. Still, being attracted to her and being in love were two different things. Most people were attracted to the one they loved, but you could find someone physically appealing without being in love. She knew Naruto though. He never did anything halfway. They were both so screwed and not in a good way. The brunette bites her lower lip and mentally curses. She'd only wind up hurting him again. Hinata was right about that. The kindest thing to do would be to leave, but she couldn't bring herself to do it. Besides, he'd chase her to the ends of the earth again. No, she was just going to pretend that nothing had changed. It wasn't like he knew that she was in love with him or that she had listened to him do that. You have an audience. Kyuubi informs Naruto as the blonde was cleaning himself up. What? The blonde demands. The Uchiha is standing in the hallway. I can scent her arousal and her anxieties from here. She's been here for 3 minutes. Thought you might want to put on a show for her. Kyuubi states. I'm going to kill you, Kurama. Naruto snarls in his head. Did I mention that the traces of 2 male scents still linger on her? One is Gaara's. It's not his arousal that I sent on her. I don't know the other male. I can tell he wanted her. Given how faint it is, it seems that she's a faithful vixen. But still. It is best to remind her of who she belongs to. If you don't, she'll start to doubt your commitment to her. Kyuubi continues on as if this was all very reasonable, and in the fox's mind it probably was. Wait, someone wanted to touch her. Naruto growls, feeling his eyes bleed red and teeth sharpen. Despite her less than docile personality, she is by human standards beautiful. It's not surprising another male would try to claim her since you clearly are not capable of it. Kyuubi taunts him. Fuck you, Kurama. Naruto growls. Wouldn't you rather be doing that with her? He continues goading him and then flits off into the back corner of Naruto's mind. You know it's really not nice to spy on people like that. Naruto says and pushes her against the wall. Naruto, Suki starts to say and then realizes she had nothing. What sort of excuse could she come up with? Was it an accident? It had started that way at the beginning. She supposed she could say she was going to confront him about the shower thing. But it was one thing to accidentally see someone just showering. It was another to listen as the other person got off. "It's okay. I'm not mad." He tries to reassure her. "You aren't?" She watches him warily. "No, we live together. It was bound to happen sooner or later." The blonde smiles, trying to make this less awkward. "Yeah." Suki nods her head, not believing her luck. "You know. Sometimes it's kinda nice having a fox demon inside me." Naruto murmurs as he leans over and whispers into her ear, his breath hot against her neck. "Why?" Those dark orbs of hers were now shimmering with confusion. "His sense of smell is better than mine. A lot better." Naruto smirks. "I don't get it." Which was true because Suki definitely didn't get it. "I can smell." "Well, I guess I should say he can smell two men on you. One's Gaara. I trust Gaara. I know he wouldn't do anything with you. The other, I don't know. But he wanted you. I don't like that." He growls. "Are you seriously jealous?" She looks at him in disbelief. "No. I know you didn't touch him. Kyuubi's nose can tell me that too. You were a good girl." He licks her ear. "Naruto, I think you are going Kyuubi again." She warns him. "Maybe a little." The blonde admits. "Then maybe you should let go of me." Suki nods at him. "I don't want to and I know you don't want me to either." The blue-eyed ninja tells her. "What makes you say that?" Suki asks, torn between curiosity and worry. "He can smell more than just the people you've interacted with. He can smell that you liked listening. I never figured you for a voyeur." He states. "Naruto, that. Damn it." She says. "It's okay. I'm glad you did. I'm going to be so fucking happy when we are married and the others know that you are mine. I would have killed him if he touched you." He murmurs darkly into her ear and then suddenly kisses her. She shivers at his tone. The brunette, when she heard him say that, didn't doubt for a minute that as it was now. He meant it. Before she could respond, he kissed her. So she kissed back, wrapping her arms around his neck and returning it with an equally possessive passion. Naruto growls in approval and she feels herself being shoved against the wall roughly. It didn't really hurt, but it was enough to surprise her. She wraps her legs around his waist for balance. "Mine." He murmurs, breaking the kiss just long enough to say, and then returns to branding her with his mouth. Suki could only nod. It was all that she could do to keep up with the whirlwind that was his kiss. But fuck, it felt good. "No one else can touch you like this. Not now, not ever." He tells her and Suki gasps when she feels him grab her ass and another hand slide her pants off. "I wasn't going to let them." She pants out. "But and I'm not going to let you leave me again. Never again." Does he continue these declarations or were they orders? She squirms wildly when she feels his hand slide underneath her panties. "Oh, fuck." He was touching her there. She blushes scarlet. Kyuubi wasn't lying. He murmurs in wonder. "I really need to talk to that furball about respecting other people's privacy." She rolls her eyes at the nine-tailed fox's antics. "You can talk to him later." Naruto curiously glides his hand along her, drawing a moan from the brunette and causing her to buck her hips in response. She cries out. "You're so sensitive." He murmurs approvingly, eyes still red. "If I grabbed you by the dick, you'd probably be sensitive too." She huffs. "Gods and goddesses, you've always had such a sassy mouth." "Not this time though. You don't get to avoid this with sarcasm." He silences her with another kiss. Suki moans and returns it. Was this actually happening? That's when Naruto's thumb brushed against her clit. She didn't know if it was accidental or not, but she felt embarrassed by the wanton moan it drew from her. "Do that again." The blonde rushes his thumb in the same spot, eliciting another moan from her to his great pleasure. "Fuck. Naruto." She pants. "I like it when you say my name like that." He admits and marvels at how wet she was. He did that. Naruto made her wet. He was the one making her moan. The blonde felt proud and he'd never been so turned on in his life. Maybe that was why he was growing so much bolder than he normally would have been. "You're so wet. Are you going to come for me, Suki?" He growls into her ear. "Naruto. We." She pants and tries to focus. This wasn't a good idea and she knew that. She just couldn't remember why. "No. Just enjoy it. Don't overthink it." He orders and slides a finger inside her. "Fuck." She moans and squirms wildly. He'd never touched a woman like this before. The future Hokage had nothing to compare it to. But instinctively, he knew that Suki was hot, wet, and tight. He was a little worried that maybe he'd do it wrong. What if she didn't like it? What if he hurt her? But judging by the way she moaned and was writhing against his touch, he decided that wasn't something he needed to worry about. Instinct could be a beautiful thing. "See how much better it is when you aren't trying to get away from me." He whispers and kisses her neck. Suki tilts her neck to the side. That just excited him more. He loved marking her neck up. He was going to have to burn her high-collared shirts though. Everyone should be able to see his hard work. That's when he decided to add a second finger and move them faster. "Naruto." Suki screams out his name as her orgasm hits her like a Rasengan, fast and strong as Naruto slides his fingers out of Suki. End of line. Odd, you're beautiful. He mutters and pulls her even closer to him as she pants, trying to come down from the high that a release gave her. Finally. That's better. Well, it should be at least enough to keep her from considering other men for a while anyway. Kyuubi says. Naruto was irritated when Kyuubi flashed him a picture of a presumably black-furred vixen being surrounded by likely male foxes. It seemed it was normal for multiple males to try to win over a female, but she'd only choose one to raise children with. She might couple with others, but only one got the honor of being a den mate. Foxes could change partners every year, stay together for a few years, or be a mated pair for life. In Kyuubi's mind, apparently this depended on whether or not the male was good at satisfying the female and how well he could hunt. Just shut up, you pervert. Naruto growls at him. Didn't know that. The blonde was suddenly distracted by the sight of Suki's ruby red eyes clouded over with pleasure. Didn't know what? She mumbles. That your Sharingan activates when you're aroused. He says. You're such a loser. She mumbles but snuggles into him. I don't think so. I mean, I got you back, didn't I? The blonde asks. Yes, you did. The brunette answers. And I'm not letting you go again. He tells her. I'm not going anywhere. She reassures him. Good. He says and holds her tighter. Suki goes quiet. She didn't know what to say now. She knew that their relationship had just changed significantly. It was one thing to kiss to practice for the wedding. Even the necking could be overlooked because she was pretty sure that Kyuubi played a heavy hand in that. But he cried out her name as he came and touched her so intimately. That well past the boundaries of friendship. They were quite lovers yet, but they were closer to being that than just friends. Chapter 7. If you let go of me, I can return the favor. Suki murmurs. Wait, what? Naruto looks at her in shock as he blushes about 10 shades of red. It's only fair. The last Uchiha points out, and privately she was a bit amused at how suddenly bashful Naruto was. You don't have to. It's not like there's a scoreboard or anything. Naruto wouldn't stop blushing. Your chivalry is touching, really. I'm not Hinata though. I don't need it. She saunters off, casting a look over her shoulder at him as she heads to her room. Wait, what's that supposed to mean? The blonde demands as he follows her. Just what it sounds like. Suki sits on the bed, crossing her stunning creamy legs in such a way that Naruto got a good look at her choice in undergarments, silk white tiger pattern today. I don't know if that's a slam against Hinata or if you are jealous. Obviously, the lovable idiot was having a hard time reading her. It's a slam against your perfect pretty little princess. Suki wasn't proud of it, but she was now half snarling. Whoa. You're really jealous. The blue-eyed ninja blinks. I'm not jealous. Suki scoffs and grabs Naruto, pinning him to the bed. Yes, you are. Naruto couldn't help but laugh. I'm not. I can do something she can't. She smirks. What's that? The blonde gulped when he saw her Sharingan spinning in annoyance. Maybe provoking her wasn't a good idea. Touch you without fainting. Suki informs him and yanks off his pants with one swift tug. Hey. Easy there. Naruto cries out. Since when have things ever been easy between us? She taunts him. Well, you got a point there. He mutters. Warning lime, bud. Lose the boxers or I will burn them. She informs him. Whoa. Naruto decides that he does not want fire that close to his equipment under any circumstances and slides them off. Suki tries not to blush or stare. Honestly, she'd never really seen a naked man before in the flesh other than Sujetsu. She didn't count that. He was naked in the tank. It wasn't like he flashed her on purpose. Naruto though was a lot bigger than Sujetsu. The water lover she knew from Kabuto's medical notations was considered above average. Yes, she borrowed Kabuto's texts once. She wanted to figure out who would prove most useful in killing Itachi. That hadn't gone the way she planned, but she had learned a lot about anatomy, particularly male anatomy that she hadn't known before. So it wasn't a complete loss. Tell me if you like it or not. She takes him in good hands. She'd never actually done this before. Suki wasn't as innocent as Naruto. She'd walked in on a few embarrassing situations in the sound and she had seen enough adult films to get the general idea. Still, seeing something and actually doing it yourself were two completely different things. Naruto just nods. He wasn't sure what got into Suki. At first, he thought she was only offering out of some sense of fairness. You scratch my back, I scratch your back, type of thing. Well, more specifically, you give me an orgasm, I give you one. In this case. This was Suki though. So nothing could ever be that simple. She'd made that crack about Hinata. She was actually jealous. Really, jealous. Was it wrong that that made him happy? Probably. If the last Uchiha actually got angry, Hinata was a goner and he didn't want his friend to die. Then Suki began moving her hand and all rational thought vanished. Suki glides her hand over his length, gently at first. She wasn't really sure how sensitive he was. He was so warm to the touch though, and if his erection was any indication, Naruto was enjoying himself so far. Fuck. He hisses and bucks into her hand, instinctively. Her hands were cool and soft, like silk. They felt so much better than his own. She was barely touching him, and he already felt like he was going to climax in her hand. God, he was pathetic. This might never happen again. He should at least try to make it last as long as possible. You hiss like a snake when you are turned on, I notice. She rubs her hand along his arousal a little bit faster. Don't stop. That feels really good. He pants and bucks into her hand. I can tell. You are throbbing against my hand. She reminds him and brushes her thumb against the tip. Suki? He growls. I'm not sure if that was as an Suki or please do that again Suki. She feigns confusion and does it again. Naruto at this point was tempted just to grab her. The blonde was considering yanking those silk panties off and just driving into her. It felt so good. He wanted more. He was so close. At the same time though, as badly as he wanted to come, he didn't want it to be over. You're holding back. That's not like you. Scaredy cat. She taunts him just like she had his genin. That made Naruto snap. Suki's sassy mouth always did. Just now it was in a different way. He grabs her and rolls her until she is underneath him. The blonde was gratified to hear a startled eep from her. He looked down at her. How the hell had he not done this before? She was beautiful. The fact that she was only wearing her shirt and panties so he could see her lovely long legs only excited him more. Naruto debates about just yanking the rest of her clothes off. Suki didn't seem to have a problem with threatening his clothes, but he decided against it. He didn't want to startle her. He settles for kissing her. MMM. Suki moans into the kiss and reaches down, continuing to stroke him. Naruto groans into the kiss. The blonde punishes her with his tongue for teasing him. Damn it. He wanted to make this last longer, but it just felt so good. He could feel her soft, warm breasts against his chest, even if there were 2 layers of clothing separating them. Her legs sliding against his. The taste of her kiss and her hands around his arousal was just too much. He spirals over the edge. And lime, their range is impressive. Suki blinks, a few minutes later after they had both come down from the high that came with being together. Naruto blushes deeply at that. How would she even know? It wasn't like she had more experience in this stuff than he did. How do you know that? I might have read some educational texts and watched some erotic movies. I just wanted to make sure that I was good at it. She sounded really embarrassed to Naruto. You know, good at being with someone. It was for clan restoration purposes. Oh well, that makes sense. I never figured you to be someone who would be insecure about stuff like that or anything really. You don't need to worry though. You were amazing. The blonde says. Thanks. She blushes and looks away. Anytime. Naruto wasn't sure what to say after all that. I'll go do the laundry. Suki blushes. Good idea. He agrees and watches her leave with the sheets in her arms. Damn it. What do I do now? Naruto sighs at the thought. This was confusing. Did he go after her? Well, maybe she wanted some time alone to think. What were they now anyway? Friends didn't touch each other like that. But they weren't lovers. Meanwhile, Suki was having similar thoughts. She threw their clothes and blankets into the washing machine. What was she supposed to do now? What the hell had she been thinking? Oh right, she hadn't been thinking. Naruto had just pounced. So naturally, she responded. She shivers remembering the warmth of his touch and the sounds he made when she touched him. It was all so intense, but that was just who they were. Why did she ever imagine that intimacy with him would be anything but the whirlwind that fighting him was? Finally, Naruto gathers up his courage to go see her. He needed more time to figure out something to say. The blonde knew if he said one stupid thing, it probably wasn't going to happen again. As confusing as it was to have these desires for his best friend, he wanted it too. That and he really didn't want to hurt Suki's feelings and make her feel self-conscious about her seduction skills. They were exceptional and she had nothing to worry about there. Hey, I just remembered that Kakashi needed me for something. So I'll be back later. Okay. He calls out. Alright. Suki answers. She wasn't sure whether to be relieved or hurt that he was leaving immediately after. But she was being a hypocrite. She knew that. The first thing she had done afterwards was use the sheets as an excuse to get away from him. The last Uchiha needed time to think. She couldn't blame Naruto for being the same way. He wasn't going to see Kakashi. It was a lie and they both knew it, but she wasn't going to call him out on it. She nods as he leaves. I shouldn't have lied to her. Naruto mutters once he's out of the Uchiha district. He wasn't going to see Kakashi, but he was going to see another cage. So maybe that made it slightly less of a lie. No, he knew he was rationalizing. But still he couldn't help it. He'd never lied to her before. It made him feel sick. He didn't want to do it again. But it was just a white lie. It wasn't going to hurt anyone. Gaara. He knocks on the door of the hotel room Gaara was staying in. Iridit opens the door. He lets Naruto in despite the hour. He raises an eyebrow as if to say, well, I screwed up. Well, I think I did anyway, or I'm about to. I don't know what to do. He admits. What happened? Kazuki asks. It's a long story, but I got excited. Suki left. So I was. You know. Naruto trails off. Naruto, everyone does it. You can say the word. The redhead rolls his eyes at his friend's innocence. Right, but she came back. I didn't notice at first because I was distracted and she was in the hall. I was in my room, but I guess she heard everything well. He mutters. If you are living with someone, this type of thing is bound to happen sooner or later. I'm sure she understands that. Gaara offers consolingly. Well, Kyuubi noticed her. She got it. Aroused from overhearing everything, according to him. Naruto blushes. Oh. So what did you do? The redhead looks at him in amazement. I pushed her against the wall, said some things, and I touched her. The blonde mutters. You touched her? The redhead sounded rather stunned that Suki had allowed such a thing, and well, frankly so was Naruto. Yeah. She liked it, but then she wanted to return the favor. She got jealous about Hinata, but it felt good. Naruto finishes lamely. In conclusion, you're both idiots who have no idea how to communicate that you find each other desirable. Gaara summarizes. Hey. Naruto protests. You two make everything far too complicated. You're attracted to her, right? Kazuki asks. Definitely. Naruto agrees. And she's attracted to you? The redhead continues. I guess so, otherwise she wouldn't have. The blonde starts to explain, but Gaara cuts him off. Yes or no will be sufficient. You both agreed to get married. You've both proven time and time again that you would die for each other. I don't see the problem. You want her. She wants you. The Kazuki finishes. Yeah and yeah. It's just. You know we've been friends for so long. Suki has trusting people. He rubs the back of his head nervously. She didn't seem to have any trouble trusting you when she grabbed your. Forget I said that. You get the point. The Kazuki sighs. Yep, got it. I still don't want to push too hard. She might leave again. Naruto looks at his feet. You have real abandonment issues with her. You two are going to have to talk about that. The other man shakes his head. Well, she said she wasn't going to. Naruto says. But you don't believe her? Gaara says. I don't know. She's left twice before. I mean the second time she came back willingly, but it still hurts. The blonde admits. I know, but I'm not the one you need to talk about this. Gaara places his hand on his shoulder. I know. It's terrifying. What if she regrets it? He asks. Naruto, I am not a marriage counselor. I'm your friend. I love you. The other man sighs heavily. Gaara, I mean you are like a brother to me, but. Naruto was now freaking out. Not like that, you idiot. Gaara sighs and smacks his forehead. Oh. Naruto replies. I love you like a brother. Anyway, but you need to man up. You didn't flinch at facing Madara, and you are telling me you are too scared to ask Suki if she wants a real relationship. This is after you proposed to her, by the way. Gaara finishes. Yeah. I guess when you put it like that, it sounds kinda silly. He mutters. It does. Now go talk to her. The Kazuki demands. Yeah. Wish me luck. He heads off. Good luck. Gaara calls out as Naruto leaves. He stops at the flower shop first. Maybe Ino could help. She knew about these types of things. Did you and Suki have a fight? The blonde woman looks up at him. What makes you think that? He gulps slightly. Most men only get flowers as apologies or for special occasions. The other blonde shrugs. Well. We didn't exactly have a fight, but I want to do something special for her. Which flowers do you think would say? I want to be with you? Naruto blushes. Red roses would be the safest choice, and no one can really mistake their meaning. She offers. Great. So I'll go with that. Naruto smiles at that. How many would you like? Ino looks at him curiously. A dozen, I guess. Surely, that had to be a good answer, Naruto thinks to himself. A dozen is a good choice. Ino assures him and sells him the flowers. Thanks. He quickly dashes home. Suki? He calls out once he's inside. I'm in the kitchen. Came the immediate response. Naruto heads to the kitchen. He saw that Suki was actually making ramen. He wasn't sure if that was her version of letting him down easy or if Suki's version of getting him flowers. You don't eat ramen. Like ever. Naruto couldn't help but feel more than a little stunned at this development. You do though. She turns around and smiles shyly. Here, these are for you. He awkwardly hands them to her. Thanks. She sniffs them and smiles more. Well, that was a good sign, he guessed. Damn it. Why couldn't this be easier? It'd be so easy when he had her against the wall. They are beautiful. She comments because they were, and she wanted to break the silence. Just like you then. Naruto grins. You're sweet. Suki shakes her head in amusement. But you hate sweets. That couldn't be a good sign in the blonde's mind. You're the only exception. I can't hate you. Believe me, it would have made things easier in the sound and while I was traveling with Team Hawk if I could have. She says. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be reassuring or not. You want to hate me. Naruto looks down at his feet. It'd be better if I did. I keep hurting you. She murmurs. Only because you keep leaving. He argues. Sometimes I wonder if you aren't a bit of a masochist. Suki tilts her head thoughtfully. Not really, but if that's what it takes to keep you. Naruto trails off. Keep me? She asks. I mean, we are getting married anyway. Can't it be real? Naruto questions. Oh. I wasn't sure. I thought it might have been you going Kyuubi. She mutters. A little bit, but it was also me acting on my feelings. Maybe in a more animalistic way than is healthy, but yeah. The blonde could feel his face burning with embarrassment. Nothing about our relationship has ever been healthy. Suki laughs. I guess not. Naruto agrees. I can't believe you actually got me flowers. Like we are normal or something. Suki actually giggles at that. Well, what did you expect? He asks. Honest. She shrugs and smiles. Damn. Should have thought of that, but I thought you liked the flowers. Naruto looks at her in confusion. I do. They're perfect. She murmurs. So do you want to? He asks warily. For the record, this is a horrible idea. But yes, I want to be with you. Suki leans in till their foreheads are touching and lightly brushes her lips against his. It's not a horrible idea, but I want to be with you too. Naruto deepens the kiss, pushing her until she is sitting on the counter. We can't even agree on if this is a good idea or a bad idea. She murmurs. You'll come around eventually. You're just stubborn, but I'm more stubborn. Naruto chuckles. I can't argue with that. She smiles. I love you. He smiles back. Naruto, don't make me say that. She suddenly jumps off the counter as if she was going to bolt. Suki, what's wrong? He looks at her utterly bewildered. Everyone that I ever said that to is dead. Don't make me say it to you. Suki's eyes were wide with horror. Suki, that wasn't because you loved them. It was because the village isolated your family and your family plotted a coup. It had nothing to do with you loving them. He tells her. Let's not test that theory. Suki pleads with him. You're kidding me? Naruto blinks. I'm not. She snaps at him, Sharingan flashing. Suki. It's okay, you don't have to say it. The fact you are freaking out about it so much tells me all I need to know. You can say the actual words later. Just don't run off again. He grabs her and pulls her into her arms. Thank you. Suki snuggles into his arms. So you still have the bandages? He looks down at her arms. Uh-huh. She asks. Did you want to try out that whole playing doctor thing? Naruto grins. Do you finally understand what that means? She snorts with amusement. Well, sorta. I get that it's some kind of erotic game. The blonde's face was likely redder than Suki's beloved tomatoes at this point. Maybe. If we get to that point, we should start with the basics. That's probably a bit advanced for you. You have two modes. Oblivious Angel and Kyuubi. She says. And where's playing doctor falling on that scale? He asks. About 3/4 of the way between Angel and Kyuubi, with Kyuubi being closer. Suki answers without batting an eyelash. Oh. Good to know. But I can handle it if that's something you want to do. Naruto crosses his arms defensively. Maybe. She tilts her head as if considering it. I can work with maybe. He says. By the way, don't think because you gave me flowers that you are getting that automatically. Suki rolls her eyes at him. Oh, so now you are going to pretend you don't want it. Who was the one who threatened to burn my boxers off and moaned my name? He taunts her. That was not playing fair. It was Suki's turn to blush. All's fair in love and war and we definitely are both. He kisses her. That's true. She murmurs and kisses back, running her fingers through his hair. Chapter 8. A few days had passed since Naruto's confession and Suki's. Almost a concession. They settled into a routine of sorts. Mostly it was their normal lives with lots of kissing thrown in whenever there was an opportunity. Neither of them had dared to venture further. Naruto was happy though. Kissing Suki by itself was. He didn't really have the words to describe it. He just knew he wanted to do it again and again. That and Suki was finally opening up to him, at least a little. He could trick her into doing it if he asked her questions between their heated kisses. Morning. She murmured into their kiss when they woke up in each other's arms. Morning. He returned the kiss. I could get used to this. She broke the kiss by playfully tugging at his lower lip with her teeth. Yeah. Suki? He asked. MHM? She ran her fingers through his hair. You know while you were gone, you know how much I missed you. But did you ever think of me when you were away? Naruto knew the question probably shocked her, but he had to know anyway. You were on my mind almost as much as Itachi. Both of you were constantly tormenting me. She admitted as she kissed him with a bruising passion. Naruto moaned into the kiss. Suki had been gentle when she brought him over the edge that night, but ever since then. Her kisses had been more aggressive. It was almost like back in their academy days when they would compete over everything. In this case, that turned out to be who was in control of their kisses. It didn't bother Naruto though. He loved gentle Suki, as rare as she was. And he loved rough Suki. What do you mean by that? He broke the kiss and looked down at her, panting slightly. Itachi because I thought he killed our clan for nothing. I wanted revenge. You because. I remembered the look on your face when I left. I hurt you. I felt guilty and I hated you for it. She confessed. Oh. Naruto felt crushed. Well, I thought I did anyway. I wanted to hate you so badly. In reality, I hated myself more than anything. I couldn't break my bond with you. I thought it made me weak. She continued and seemed as shocked as Naruto as the words just continued to pour from her mouth like some sort of dam had been broken and the floodwaters were lashing out. You sound like you changed your mind. The blonde looked at her hopefully. I did. It made me stronger. You always pushed me. So I pushed back. She kissed his neck. Ah. Suki. He squirmed wildly and started to understand why Suki was so vocal when he marked her neck. Damn, it felt good. How's it feel to be on the receiving end? Suki smirked as she bit down lightly. Really fucking good. Naruto growled. Good to know. I should probably get started on breakfast. She mused and hopped off him. Wait. That's it, you're just going to stop. Naruto tried his best not to gape at her. Unless you'd prefer to go on your mission without eating breakfast. Suki actually had the audacity to shrug at him. Screw eating. Get back here. Naruto gave her a dirty look. You always were a slow learner. You're not the one in charge here. She sauntered with a seductive sway to her hips that Naruto was sure she deliberately used to tease him. Evil. He huffed and followed her. If you wanted a sugary sweet, you should have gone with Hinata. Suki reached to open the cupboard. You're still sore about her? Suki, I never did anything with her. She's just a friend. A good friend. But that's it. Naruto stared at her in disbelief. I know you didn't. She still wants you though. Suki pulled out a pan. That doesn't matter. I don't want her. I want you. He kissed her. For now. She returned the kiss. Forever. He pushed her onto the countertop. It scares me sometimes. She admitted. What does? Naruto felt utterly baffled. That I could lose you. The brunette confessed. You aren't going to. He promised and kissed her. Yeah. They were definitely making progress. Naruto supposed in a twisted way that he should be grateful to the council. Without them, he and Suki probably never would have realized their feelings for each other. Suki smiles as she walks into the house. She'd been given an easy mission. Just guard duty. Which meant it wasn't an overnight mission. This meant she'd get to sleep in Naruto's arms tonight. This was something she'd grown used to, and she was starting to get irritated if she got missions that took longer than a day to complete because of it. The last Uchiha was a bit disturbed by how quickly she was growing dependent on his touch to feel content, but it was too late to worry about that now. Naruto, you home? She calls out. When she doesn't get a response, she shrugs it off. It was only 5 p.m. He was probably helping Kakashi with paperwork. By helping she meant a lazy Hokage hadn't shown up and Naruto got suckered into it. When this happened, he usually didn't get home until after the sunset. Naruto really sucked at paperwork. It was harder to tell who was less suited for that aspect of the job, Kakashi or Naruto. The last Uchiha had decided to use this time productively. A nice hot bubble bath sounded good. After that, she'd look around to see what she could make for dinner. Thankfully, Naruto's diet now was no longer 90% ramen and ninja rations. More like 50%. The bath sounds good. She heads to the bathroom for a nice, hot soak. Naruto liked her cooking. The blonde wasn't a good pretender. If he didn't, she would know. But she figured he probably would have eaten whatever she made, even if she burned it to a crisp. Secretly, she thought he got some sort of kick out of her doing something so domestic and was just happy to see she cared. Well, Suki was partially correct. Naruto was with Kakashi. Yes, they were doing paperwork. For once, the silver-haired Hokage was actually doing at least some of it though. Mostly because he had decided to use this as a cunning ploy to interrogate Naruto, subtly. According to the latest gossip, you and Suki are the new Romeo and Juliet. Fortunately, without the dying part. Kakashi chuckles. Yeah. Something like that. Naruto blushes slightly. So it is no longer just you two pretending. The silver-haired ninja observes. What makes you say that? The blonde demanded. Naruto, you are blushing. There has to be something to blush about. So what happened? He signs another authorization form. Damn, how many of these are there? He wondered. Alright. Yeah. It's real now. It just sorta happened. Please don't ask for details. He begs. I see. Well, it is about time. I knew this would happen from your first day on Team 7. That or you were going to kill each other. He adds as an afterthought. Gee, thanks. Your confidence in us is very touching. Naruto scoffs. More than once it looked like it'd be the second option, but I'm very happy that you two have decided to act on all that pent-up sexual tension you've built up over the years. If I had known that was the case, I would have given you the month off. Yes, a month seems about right. You've always had so much energy, and Suki is far from a Shikamaru herself. The copycat ninja actually laughs. It's not like that. I mean, I wish it was. Other than that one night though, it's all been kissing, necking, and cuddling. Yeah, she cuddles. Naruto snickers at that last part. I can't see Suki cuddling, but you have never lied to me before. What happened that one night? Kakashi raises an eyebrow. That's none of your business. Naruto growls. Ah. Well, something sexual no doubt, but you still have your innocence. Kakashi looks Naruto up and down like he expected that to be written on the blonde's forehead or something. You can't possibly tell that just by looking at someone. The blonde sighs in exasperation. Trust me, Naruto. You can once you know what to look for. Well, if you need a few tips, I as your sensei would be more than happy to help. Suki has always struck me as similar to a cat. She is very independent and will avoid most people. But if you pet them just the right way, they'll seek out your attention. That or bribe them with food. Have you tried tomatoes? Kakashi suggests helpfully. Kakashi, I know she likes tomatoes, but she doesn't like them that much. Naruto laughs. Well, no. I doubt that by itself would be enough to make her receptive. But it'd put her in a good mood, which would allow you to make her so. Kakashi explains. Maybe. It's okay though. I mean, we are getting married once her arm is healed. So. Maybe she's just the type that prefers to wait till marriage. He wonders out loud. Naruto, I doubt that's it. Sakura might hold on to such old-fashioned romantic notions. It would seem highly unlikely Suki would though. Kakashi shakes his head as though he thought Naruto was being adorably naive. Hey. It's possible. She cuddles. Didn't expect that. So maybe. The blonde defends his reasoning. I suppose anything is possible. What about taking her somewhere? An actual date might do wonders to make the relationship seem more real to both of you. Kakashi offers. That's a great idea. Yeah. I'll talk to her about it. Thanks Kakashi-sensei. Naruto darts out of there. I probably should have waited until we were done with the paperwork to make that suggestion. Kakashi sighs helplessly as he resigns himself to one boring evening. Hey Suki. You back? Naruto calls out. I'm in the bath. He hears Suki's voice. Damn it. It was hard to focus on the date when images of her in the shower hit him full force. He heads to the bathroom. Well, more precisely, he stands out in the hallway. Loser, you know you don't have to talk to me through the door. Suki sounded rather amused by the entire situation. Well, you know. I should respect your privacy. The blonde nods sagely. You didn't seem to mind disrespecting it when you watched me shower the other day. Gaara told me. Now, she sounded well, annoyed. Damn it. Suki, I swear I can explain. I didn't mean to. It's just you didn't shut the door, so I assumed the bathroom wasn't taken. It wasn't like I was trying to spy on you. Naruto gulps. It's okay, Naruto. I was more mad that you allowed me to believe someone had broken into our home. Then you got an eyeful. I'm over it. I know you just didn't want a beating. She offers. Oh good. Naruto sighs in relief. Besides, it wouldn't be fair to hold it against you. I overheard you. You saw me. She reasons. Yeah. Exactly. He says. So come on. I'm tired of shouting. She informs him. Alright. He walks into the bathroom. It was a bubble bath. So mostly he just saw her creamy shoulders and the very top of her breasts. The bubbles were stacked pretty high. He wondered how long they'd last. He felt a surge of pride shoot through him. She was his. This gorgeous woman was his fiancée. The words still felt foreign to him even in his head. Naruto mentally smacks himself for such thoughts. That had to be Kyuubi's influence. There was no way that he sounded like so much of a caveman on his own. Right. I didn't expect you back so early. So it wasn't paperwork. She didn't seem the least bit shy about bathing in front of him. It was, but he let me out early. I was thinking, you know, maybe if we could go somewhere with the other rookies. You know, like a double date, but with more people. He asks. Let me get this straight. You are asking me out. With nearly a dozen other people tagging along after you proposed to me. Suki shoots him a rather incredulous look that says, you're kidding me, right? Yeah, I know it's kinda out of order. But it'd be good for you to get to know everyone again. Naruto smiles at her. Get to know them again? I barely knew them when I was here, except for Sakura. She counters. All the more reason to go. He gins at her cheekily. I have a better idea. Suki pulls him into the tub with her. Suki? He cries out in shock. We could go with them to a movie or we could stay here. Alone. Together. She murmurs, pushing him so he is laying down in the tub and straddles his waist. Naruto got well and was eye-catching. The bubbles covered most of her, but for some reason that just made it hotter. Lucky bubbles cling to her body like that. He'd never felt jealous of bubbles before. Suki, I mean it. It'd be good for you to try to make friends. Well, besides just me. He insists. I don't need anyone but you. She licks his ear roughly. Suki, that's not fair. He growls. So fight back. Punish me. She purrs into his ear, nibbling on it, and then moves down to suck on his neck. Don't tempt me or you won't be walking for a week. He warns her. Suki blinks and tilts her head. Yes, his teeth were sharpening. The brunette realized she was close to bringing out his animal side. Well, that was always fun. Naruto didn't seem to want to take a walk on the wild side though. Was he worried about hurting her? PFT. She wasn't fragile. You're pretty cocky for someone that's never done it before. She murmurs and lays her head on his shoulder, moving so she is sitting in his lap. Inexperience didn't seem to be an issue the last time we were together. He growls darkly and Suki shivers. Right back at you. She actually sounded a little breathless. So come on, at least give it a chance. Naruto kisses her neck. No. I'm not going and that's final. She says. You sure? He bites down, causing her to moan. Be positive. It's stupid. We've known each other since we were 5. We don't need to go on dates to learn about each other. We can do that here. She states. Suki, I want you to have friends. I want you to be happy. He shocks himself by gliding his hands over her breasts. I am happy. I have you. That's all I need. And I get along okay with Gaara? She asks. Yeah. Maybe a little too well. I mean if he's telling you about the shower thing. He mutters. It still counts. She argues. You really don't want to go? He asks. Is Lee going? She replies with a question of her own. Yeah, probably. Why? Naruto questions. He's creepy with that springtime of youth thing. Loud. It hurts my ears. I'm not going. She nods as if all of that should have been obvious. I think we are having our first couples fight. He laughs. More like a disagreement. I'm sure you'll see things my way. The last chess smirks. Alright. I think I know how we can settle this. A bet. Naruto smirks right back at her. I'm listening. Suki looks at him as if she was afraid that the blonde might bite her. Once we get out of the tub and you're on the bed, I'll be satisfied in under a minute without using my hands. If I do, you are going. If I don't, well, I don't know. What would you like? He asks. There's no possible way you are going to win that bet. You're good but no one is that good. Suki debates about what she wanted for her prize. Oh come on, there has to be something you want. Naruto shoots her an encouraging look. There was, but she wasn't going to ask for that for such a trivial bet. That and well, she had always wanted to visit the land of Tea's hot springs. When you lose, you can ask Kakashi to give us some time off and we can go to the land of Tea together. I hear their hot springs are amazing. She laughs. Damn. Now I'm kinda tempted to lose on purpose. Naruto mutters. I knew you'd see things my way. She smiles slyly. Oh don't get me wrong, we are still totally doing this. It's the principle of the thing. A vacation there sounds great, but this is more important long term. The blonde assures her. You're so stubborn. Suki rolls her eyes. It's a good thing I am. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. He gets out of the hot tub and pulls Suki into his arms. She blushes hotly. The bubbles were rapidly disappearing. Naruto couldn't resist kissing her as he carried her to their room. Morning lime. He sets her on the bed and pulls out a timer. Suki raises an eyebrow like, really? She shakes her head in amusement, only Naruto. Gotta make sure it's an accurate count. He joins her on the bed, hitting the start button. That's so. She smiles. I said no hands, so lay on your back. Naruto smiles at her. You're still insane. She snorts with amusement but does as he asks. Maybe, but you love me anyway. He then gives Suki a new kind of kiss. She blushes hotly. Was Naruto actually using his tongue there? Yep, he was. The brunette bites her lower lip to keep from moaning. It felt like a rush of liquid desire was racing through her veins. His hot rough tongue against her most sensitive place. Her breath started coming out in needy pants. Naruto licks hard, slow in her. He knew from Jiraiya's books that the clit marked the spot, like on a treasure map. So he made sure to pay extra attention there. He was rewarded with a deep moan and Suki wrapping her legs around his shoulders tightly for that one. He knew he was doing something right when she arches against him and he could taste her arousal against his tongue. Suki was anything but sweet when it came to her personality, but the ambrosia of her arousal definitely was. Then Naruto, that's not fair. She moans and squirms wildly, trying to fight off the orgasm that she knew was about to consume her. For that comment, he nipped at her clit very lightly. That's when Suki lost it. She came and she came hard. Told you, I could do it. 39 seconds. He smiles smugly. No way. She pants and tries to catch her breath. She glances at the timer. Damn, it really did say 39 seconds. Well, it wasn't like she expected him to treat her womanhood like it was ice cream. She shivers. It still felt so intense. So fucking god. Yep. So you are going. The blonde kisses her proudly. Naruto noticed she was trying to pull back from the kiss. Suki was squeamish about tasting herself, it seemed. He didn't expect that. Scaredy cat. He mutters. I'll show you a scaredy cat. She growls and kisses him. Naruto returns it joyfully. It made him feel good. The blonde knew Suki wanted him. She really wanted him. That was more than enough to make dealing with his own problem worth it. That looks painful. She murmurs. Yeah. He admits. Let me help. It's only fair. Suki tugs off his pants. I'm definitely not going to say no. Anytime you want to touch me, go right ahead. He groans when Suki does exactly that. Do you realize how messed up it is that we turned even sexual intimacy into a competition? She muses as she gently guides him to completion. Maybe it is a little messed up, but it was fun. Fuck. Just like that. Don't stop. He tells her. Wasn't going to. So what did you have in mind? She teases him and tries not to stare at him in her hand as she teases him more. Well, first we can finish this. Then we can talk to the others and see what they want to do. Maybe a movie or dinner would probably be best. Oh fuck yes. He growls as he climaxes. And lime, not exactly 39 seconds, but I think I got the job done all the same. She taunts him. Damn, you're good at that. If you're that good with your hands, can't wait to see what you can do with your mouth. Naruto pants, trying to catch his breath. You were too excited. You wouldn't have lasted 5 seconds if I took you in my mouth. Suki blushes. Probably not, but what if 5 seconds it would have been. Besides, seeing you blush is more than enough for me. Naruto smiled cheerfully. I'm not blushing. She protests. Yes, you are. It's cute. He kisses her. She shakes her head and kisses him back. Whatever. She knew she was blushing, but she had to at least pretend otherwise, for the sake of her badass reputation. That did kinda defeat the purpose of the bath. She mutters. That's so. We could take another one together if you want, or a shower, if you want. The blonde sounds hopeful. Showering could be fun. Race you there. She darts off. Hey, that's cheating. Naruto races after her. Chapter 9. Are you sure that I can't talk you out of this? Suki murmurs into Naruto's ear as they are getting ready to meet the other rookies and Sand siblings for their date night. I'm positive. Suki, you lost the bet. Suck it up. Don't tell me that you are a scaredy cat who can't handle going to a movie with our friends. Naruto taunts her. I can handle it. I just don't want to. I'd rather stay home. With you. Alone. She licks his ear. That's not fair and you can't know it. Naruto groans as he considers canceling. I know. That's why you are the hero of the story and I'm the bad girl. She smiles smugly. Suki, get your sexy ass moving or I will tell all of them that you like to cuddle. He threatens. You wouldn't. She crosses her arms defensively. I would. So get moving. We don't want to be late. We aren't Kakashi. He muses. That's fighting dirty. She growls, does a hair flip and flips him off as she starts to walk out of their house. Brain check on that offer. Naruto laughs and races after her. You really are such a loser. She says and shakes her head. Meanwhile at the outdoor movie theater, Gaara dutifully was using his cage status to get them all a good spot that was large enough to handle their huge party. There were some perks to being a cage. Wow. That's a pretty cool man. Kiba slaps him on the back. Gaara looks at Kiba like, why are you touching me? He's just being friendly. Hinata mumbles to Gaara. Oh. Gaara figures, fuck it, and slaps Kiba on the back, sending the canine lover flying. Maybe next time do it just a little more gently. She suggests. Understood. The redhead nods sagely. Yeah. Well, you tried. That's what matters. So you think the Naruto and Suki thing is for real? Kiba asks. Judging by the fact that they are walking towards us and Naruto's got his hand on Suki's ass, I'd say so. Shikamaru observes. What? No way. Kiba blinks as he stares at the scene playing out before him. It's real. They were in the flower shop together. Ino nods her head determinedly. Did it occur to you that Suki might have just lied to you? Shino shocks everyone by actually talking. Yes, that's possible, but Naruto is a horrible liar. Choji chimes in. Well, there's really only one way to settle this. After the movie, drag them off to girls and guys nights. Tamari says. There is no way that Suki is going to go for that. Kankuro points out. She will if Naruto asks her to. Gaara shrugs. Do you really think so? Tenten questions. I know so. The Redeed thought that this was a rather obvious fact, but he didn't mind pointing it out. Don't even think about running off. Naruto murmurs into her ear, tightening his grip on her ass. You know me too well. Wait. Is that Hinata by Gaara? You actually invited her here, she practically snarls. It wasn't my idea, but she's a member of the Rookie Nine. She has just as much right to be here as we do. He protests. That was just cruelty. Seeing us together is going to crush her. I'm going to go. Suki looks at the door, ready to bolt. She's just going to have to get used to seeing us together. Naruto guides Suki over to the others. Naruto could see by the tension in Suki's shoulders that she was planning to run. He wraps both arms around her and pulls her against his chest. To the others it looked like a loving embrace, but the real message was clear to Suki. You aren't going anywhere. Don't even try. Everyone was watching them so closely. Not that Suki gave a damn about their opinions, but it was uncomfortable. She squirms and Naruto places a kiss on the top of her head. Calm down. It's okay. He whispers. I don't like this. I never should have made that bet. She grumbles. It'll get easier. His eyes soften. Damn it. This was supposed to help. Not make her withdraw again. Maybe he'd pushed too far, but he wanted the others to accept her again, and Kakashi had said it would help. You have always been a bad liar. She smiles softly and leans up to place a chaste kiss on his lips. I'm not lying. He promises. Wow. Guess it's actually for real. Kiba walks over in amazement. Hey Kiba. Yeah. It is. Naruto grins. Well, I guess after all that you kinda had to be in love or just suicidal. The dog lover says. Believe me, I wondered that myself a couple of times. Suki tries her best not to laugh at that comment. So? How's your arm? Kiba looks at her awkwardly. It was pretty clear that he was far more comfortable with Naruto, but at least he was trying to talk to Suki. Naruto had to give him credit for that. As long as I don't try to move it much, it's fine. Tsunade gave me some seriously powerful painkillers, and Naruto has been rubbing it for me. She says. Is that all he rubs? Kiba laughs. Kiba? Geez man, are you trying to get chitteried? Naruto gazes at his friend as if the canine lover had lost his mind. Not bad. She smirks and leans into Naruto. Oh, so you're social when there are dirty jokes involved. The blonde looks down at his almost lover in disbelief. You wanted me to talk to them. So I'm talking. She says nonchalantly. Uh-huh. The blue-eyed ninja replies skeptically. And no, that's not all he rubs. He's surprisingly good with his hands and even better with his mouth. I guess the fact he never shuts up made his tongue more flexible. Suki was obviously trying to make Naruto blush redder than one of her beloved tomatoes. Whoa. Seriously, Naruto? Kiba blinks. Suki smirks. She was quite pleased to have turned the tables. Now Naruto could be the one squirming. Serves him right. Naruto couldn't believe this. Suki was discussing their sex life. Well, almost sex life with Kiba. And she was smirking. She was doing this to get a rise out of him. Oh, he was so going to get her back for this later. Judging by the fact that Suki is smirking, I'd say that you two have come to an understanding. Gaara asks. Yeah, you could say that. Naruto says. Apparently, said understanding involved tongue. Kiba waggles his eyebrow. They're engaged. You can't possibly be scandalized that they'd be intimate. Gaara reasons. Well, a little. I mean it's Suki. She's always been such a nice princess. Which is weird because she's from a fire clan. Kiba says. Just when I was starting to tolerate you. Suki sighs. There was a loud thud. Hinata had fainted. She had overheard at least some of that. Unfortunately, Lee took that moment to come bounding in and rushed over to lend aid to the fallen Hyuga heiress. What happened? He asks. That's what I'm wondering. Ino says. I have to admit that I am curious as well. Tamari adds. Ditto. Tenten, Shikamaru, and Choji say as Shino nods his head in agreement. Hinata overheard Suki discussing the intimate details of her relationship with Naruto. It was too graphic for her tastes. Gaara sums up. Oh. That's right. Friend Naruto is engaged to Suki. The power of youth and love can conquer anything. Lee starts. Damn it. Now you've done it, Gaara. Suki grumbles. Lee will never shut up now. How do you turn him off? The Redeed asks. You can't. You just kinda got to let it run its course. Tenten says. It's an epic love story about overcoming tragedy and finding each other again. Lee shouts. By now the other moviegoers were giving the rookies and Sand siblings funny looks. Lee was loud. Suki looks at Gaara like a little help. Gaara nods and uses the sand to gag him. Lee, if you don't shut up, I will break you. Again. The Kazekage informs him. Lee gulps. He nods quickly to show he understood. The young Cage tells him that the movie was about to start and they all sit down or find a spot to stand. A few minutes into the movie, Naruto drags Suki off towards the back where there was a nice pine tree. That was a good thing. It was still winter and most trees didn't have their leaves anymore to provide cover and some privacy. Naruto, what the hell? She asks. I can't believe you said all that to Kiba. He says. I was just having some fun. We are getting married. I think they all figured out what husbands and wives do with each other. Besides, I like messing with the mutt. Did you see the look on his face? It was priceless. She smirks. Suki, you are so lucky that there are a bunch of people right over there. Naruto gives her a dirty look. Warning Naruto Kyuubi seen. Why's that? She lets out a startled gasp when Naruto pushes her against a tree, her face against it, and her back to Naruto. I let you get away with a lot. I forgave you for leaving me twice. He growls into her ear. You knew I was coming back the second time. She counters, shivers at the feeling of his hot breath against his skin. It still counts. Do you know how much I missed you every damn day? I worried that something might have happened to you. He nibbles on her ear. NHH I don't need to be protected. There was no reason to worry. She says. I worried because I care. As I was saying, I forgave you for that. Hell, I even forgave you for taking my arm and trying to kill me. He continues, his hands now gliding from her back to her hips, causing Suki to shiver again. In fairness, you did take mine too. But you're right. She murmurs. No, that isn't fair. Because I never would have fought you if you didn't attack me. I put up with you being an evil fucking tease. Because it feels so good when you touch me, to touch you. Even if I know that we aren't going to finish it and I'm going to end up feeling frustrated. He continues, hands now resting on her ass, and he places a soft kiss to the back of her neck. Oh like you aren't a tease, Mr. 39 seconds. She growls and tries to wiggle out of his hold. If you had asked, I wouldn't have stopped there. I even put up with your issues with Hinata. Because I was happy that you cared enough to be jealous. He keeps her firmly pinned. You got jealous of some random ninja sent on me. You don't get to complain about my being jealous of her. She protests in outrage. But I'm not going to put up with you talking about what we do with other men. Because I know that for a second he was picturing you naked. I know it wasn't his fault. I know you were just teasing. But when we get home, I'm marking you. He tells her. End of Naruto Kyuubi scene. Suki gulps. She wasn't really sure what he meant by marking her. But she knew that she had apparently triggered a Kyuubi-influenced episode. It was odd. Kyuubi wasn't that fond of her because he hated Madara and she was his descendant, but clearly the fox's traits did influence Naruto. Naruto? What do you mean by that? She asks and Naruto spins her around, kissing her. You'll find out. You like it. He says. Suki kisses him back. Maybe he just meant more hickeys. The blonde really seemed to enjoy marking up her neck. What seemed like a few minutes later but was really more like 2 hours. They heard a coughing sound. Naruto looks around and sees Gaara. What is it? He asks. I expect this to backfire, but it seems the men and women want to divide into groups. The women want a girls' night and the men want a guys' night. Apparently, participation is somewhat mandatory. He states. Damn it. Alright. I'll go. I'll see you later tonight. Naruto looks at Suki before heading off to get his stuff. Suki, his eyes were red. Gaara observes. I know. She says. That's the Nine Tails influence. What happened? The Kazekage questions. Sometimes when he gets excited, he changes a little bit. His eyes, his teeth, chakra. Become slightly different. It's okay though. Honestly, it's kinda erotic. She mumbles the last part. I never had that problem. Then again my demon was removed from me when I was younger than Naruto is now and I didn't have a lover. Still, I'm concerned. He admits. He was a little bit jealous of Kiba. Naruto said something about marking me. I think he just means hickeys though. She continues. He doesn't mean hickeys. Quite honestly, I don't think you are ready for that. I don't think you are capable of submitting in such a fashion. The redhead observes. What are you talking about? She asks warily. The biology and psychology of the tailed beasts is different from our own. For them they mate for life. To take a mate, they mark them. Usually by a bite to the neck. Kazekage explains. He wants to bite me on the neck. So he's done that before. I mean not that really hard, but still. She counters. This bite would contain his chakra. It'd be a permanent mark. It would allow you to be able to sense each other, presumably you are within range, communicate by thought, share chakra, you'd heal faster, and your fertility rate would be higher than usual until you sired your first child. It will also decrease your desire and his desire for others to nothing. He states. You said that I wasn't capable of submitting in that fashion. What did you mean? All of that sounds like a good thing. Besides, I don't want anyone but him anyway. She says. Because he is the only one with a demon in this relationship, his chakra is naturally going to be more dominant. If it wasn't for Kyuubi marking, it wouldn't be possible. He would. How do I put this? Be able to compel you to a certain extent. It's not slavery. It's just. Well, you'll be a lot more inclined to be unnaturally docile if he decides to pull rank. Gaara explains. He'd be wearing the pants, and this is some sort of fucked up version of a demonic wedding. Suki sums up. Essentially. Gaara says and rubs the back of his head sheepishly. It sounds mostly good. I don't know about the compulsion though. She admits. Did she really give up that much control? She trusted Naruto. But that was a lot of power to hand over to someone. Hey Gaara. Ready to go? Naruto says when he gets back. Yes, I'm ready. He leaves with Gaara. Suki sighs. The other women were coming towards her. Thankfully, Hinata slipped off sometime during the movie. The brunette didn't seem to want to be around Suki any more than she wanted to be around Hinata. Thank God for small miracles. Ai's night turned out to be drinking at one of the bars. Gaara and Naruto were sitting next to each other, watching the remaining living male members of the Rookie Nine get heavily intoxicated. The results were amusing, but Gaara felt he had to step in here. Suki was never going to submit to a mark. Naruto had to know that. Naruto, I know what you are planning to do with her. She knows now. I told her. Suki asked me what you meant by marking. He warns his best friend. You told her? What did she say? He asks. She thinks most of the effects are positive. Though understandably, she is a bit skittish about being the submissive in the relationship. The Kazuki answers truthfully. I kinda expected that. She doesn't have to be though. I'd never abuse it. I love her. She just drives me crazy sometimes. I don't want to go to Kyuubi and scare her. You know. This would prevent that and make us even closer. Human marriage is nothing compared to a mating. Naruto's voice sounds desperate even to his own ears. If she fights for dominance, it will hurt her. It might even kill her. Gaara warns him. If it really looks like she's rejecting it, I'll pull back and let her be the dominant. I'd rather be the submissive and have her than be a dominant with no mate. Naruto says. Such a thing is possible, but you would have to go against all your instincts to do that. Are you sure you could manage? Gaara asks. For her, I can do anything. Naruto nods quickly. The girls went shopping. Suki hated every minute of it. She had nothing in common with these women. On the plus side, she did find one satin and lacy little red number that she planned to use to distract Naruto later from this marking idea. Naruto gets back to their home before Suki. He smiles and lights some scented candles and puts rose petals on the bed. Naruto was a romantic at heart and really, Suki was observant enough to get the point that he was making. It was pretty hard to mistake something like that. Naruto, I'm home. You home? He soon hears Suki yell. Yeah. I'm in our room. He calls back. Wow. Suki walks into their room and stares in awe of the scene he had prepared for them. Do you like it? He asks. It's beautiful. Very sweet. She smiles and kisses his cheek. Good. I'm glad you like it. Naruto pulled her onto the bed, so she was sitting in his lap. I love it. Suki wraps her arms around him. Suki, I know that Gaara told you about the marking. He says. Did I mention that I picked something up today while we were out shopping that I think you will really like? She bats her eyelashes at him. Don't try to change the subject. I know that you are a bit wary about it. But you know I love you, right? Naruto looks at her seriously. I know. That much I haven't doubted since you told me. She lays her head on his shoulder. And you trust me? He continues. With my life. Suki answers. Then what is it? The blonde asks gently. I don't like the idea of giving up control to anyone. Not even to you. Suki admits. I know, but I love you and I want to be with you in every way possible. This will make it easier for us to know if the other is in trouble too. He points out. There are a lot of benefits from what Gaara described. I'll concede that. The brunette admits. Besides, we've been living together for a bit now. You've been happy with me, haven't you? He asks. I have. More happy than I've ever been. But you didn't have some sort of demonic leash on me either. She says. It's not a leash. It's more like a wedding ring. The blonde counters. A wedding ring with a control button on it. Suki mutters. I wouldn't abuse it and it's not absolute. It's more like a strong suggestion. Naruto smiles a bit nervously at her. Does it hurt? She asks warily. Only if you fight it. Naruto kisses her forehead. If I do this, I want something in return. The last Uchiha says cautiously. You want to negotiate? The blue-eyed ninja asks and blinks. Something like that. I was afraid to ask before. I didn't want to trivialize it, but you are asking for a lot here. She mumbles. I know. I'm listening. Naruto assures her. A baby? Suki answers. I don't get it. What does a baby have to do with any of this? The blonde asks in confusion. I want one. One of our own. My family was taken from me. I want a new one. As it stands now, if something happens to you, I'm alone again. She says. Oh. Naruto says. Forget it. I shouldn't have asked. It was stupid to ask. She looks away. I just thought since we were just pretending that wasn't really going to happen. When we became a real couple, I didn't even think to ask. Damn, I can't believe I didn't think of it before. Of course, you were going to want that. The blonde says. You don't want to. It's okay. I shouldn't have asked like that. It was wrong to try to bribe you into fatherhood. She mutters. Suki found herself being pinned to the bed. She squirms underneath Naruto. Was he mad at her for pulling that? It was almost blackmail. You know, I'd do anything for you. I love you. He kisses her. Oh, not mad then. Suki smiles and kisses back. Naruto breaks the kiss and moves to her neck, causing the brunette to arch against him. I know you do. She moans. I've never really thought about it before. Being a father, I mean. Naruto rubs her bandaged arm. I get it. You don't want to. It's fine, Naruto. She murmurs. I'm not saying that. I didn't think about it before. But now that you brought it up, I want to. You don't have to take the mark for me to do it either. He says. Wait, you do? She tilts her head. Yeah. First of all, it'd mean I get to make love to you. I like the sound of that. He lightly bites down on her neck. Yeah. She agrees. Secondly, it'd make you happy. I like that as well. His hands slide over her legs slowly and sensually. Yeah, that's always good. She agrees. I like kids. He continues and slides her thong off. You've always been good with kids. Konohamaru followed you around like he was your shadow. Suki admits. Fourth, I like the idea of us being connected that way. A living symbol of our bond. He says. I do too. Don't make me regret this, but you can mark me. I won't fight it. She promises. Chapter 10. I won't make you regret it. I promise. Naruto captures Suki's lips in a heated kiss. Suki moans into the kiss and wraps her long legs around his waist tightly. The brunette returns it and has her own tongue dance along his in a seductive dance. The message was clear, catch me if you can. Maybe things had always been meant to end this way. Perhaps things had always been leading up to this as far back as their first accidental kiss at the academy. On second thought, it didn't matter. All that mattered was that they were together now and nothing was going to separate them ever again. Warning Lemon, it's not really fair if I'm the only one who is losing clothes. She breaks the kiss long enough to purr into his ear. Yeah, good point. He admits and he was about to start stripping when he suddenly felt warm. You burned my clothes off. Naruto blinks in disbelief. They were being annoying. Besides, you have other ones. Suki smiles slyly, making the flames disappear as she leans, so she is sitting on her knees and runs her hands over his naked chest. Naruto shivers. He never got used to the thrill that Suki's touch could bring. For years, they had fought and she ran away from him. Even then though, her touch had made him feel alive. No matter how painful the blows exchanged by them had been. It made him feel acknowledged in a way that only she could. It didn't matter if the attention had been positive or negative. He just wanted her attention in whatever form he could get it. You're so sensitive. She murmurs and glides her hands along the muscular planes of his chest, reveling in the power she felt there. That feels good. He says. It's supposed to. Suki places light kisses along his neck as her hands drift further south. His abs and biceps were a constant source of fascination to her. She'd never tell him that though. Ninja training regimes could produce some rather fantastic results. Gone was the scrawny hyperactive kid she remembered. He'd morphed into a stunning example of what the male form could achieve at its pinnacle. Naruto reaches for her shirt. He was still shocked that Suki would actually allow him to strip her. The blonde slid her shirt off to reveal a red silk bra that contrasted against her creamy ample breasts beautifully. Sometimes he wondered if Suki dressed up for him or if she really just did have some massive collection of erotic lingerie. He definitely wasn't complaining though. You don't have any scars. Suki murmurs, her hands now running along his back as she nibbles on his ear. Oh. Yeah. Kurama's influence. I heal so fast that there isn't time for the scars to stick. Naruto answers, immediately trying to unhook her bra. Must be nice. She sighs, almost every ninja had scars. Some scars were ugly. Some could actually be beautiful or regal. Most ninjas though were rather proud of their scars and wore them with pride. There were some who were vain or embarrassed though. Sometimes the scars could just so horribly disfigure someone they'd hide them. Do you have them? I never noticed. Naruto says. They're lighter than most. She takes his hand, placing it on her left hip. Naruto looks. Yes. There was a faint silvery scar. It blended almost perfectly with her skin tone. Suki appeared to have more than one of these scars. There was one on her back. That he was pretty sure should have been fatal. Karen's influence. She heals fast, but not as fast as Kyubi. Suki explains. Oh. Suki, how the hell do you get this off of you? He growls in frustration. Suddenly he hated that bra more than he hated Orochimaru. You really are such a loser. Is a bra too complicated for you? She teases, kisses him, and unhooks it with ease. Wow. Naruto immediately pins her. What makes you think that you get to the top? Suki smirks at him in a sassy way. Well, the fact that you are underneath me might have something to do with it. He murmurs and caresses her breasts, drawing signs of contentment from his soon-to-be lover. Not for long, but you can keep doing that. She murmurs and arches into him. His hands were so big and warm, rough. Naruto's touch was gentle though. It created a delicious contrast that sent a spark of desire straight to her lower half. Kakashi was right. You're just like a cat. You just have to be petted the right way. Naruto muses as he tugs on a nipple with his teeth. NHH. She cries out and wraps her legs around him tightly to increase the contact. Naruto felt a bit like a kid in a candy store. Everything looked so tempting. He really didn't know where to start. He decided on her breasts. Suki seemed to approve of this, judging by her soft cries of pleasure. He caressed, licked, sucked, and squeezed. The blonde delighted in every little sound she made. Each one only made him want her more. Suki might be quiet in everyday life, but when they were alone. Not as much. She wasn't loud, but she made quite the beautiful ballet all the same. That was okay though. No one else was ever going to hear her make these sounds if he had anything to say about it. Odd, that felt good. But she was letting herself get distracted. If she was going to let him mark her, she had to assert herself somehow. Being on top during sex, well, in Suki's mind that was one way to do it. So she rolls them over. I don't mind if you want to be on top. Besides, I love the view from down here. Naruto murmurs and Suki smiles, kissing him. The brunette lets her hands wander further south. She found what she was looking for. Fuck. He was rock hard and they had barely started. The Uchiha could feel him throbbing against her hand. Naruto runs his hands over her back. Then he slides them down lower. Finding her ass, he gives it a hard squeeze. It was tempting. Really tempting. Oh well, the hell. He smacks her there. Naruto. She shrieks in delight. Sorry, I had to. You just have this amazing ass that practically begs for it. He caresses it soothingly. It's okay. She murmurs and kisses his neck, then places butterfly kisses along his chest and gives a playful nip to his inner thigh. Naruto jumps. Having Suki's mouth that close to his kunai was a new experience. She seems to be debating something. He saw her bite her lower lip before, apparently making some sort of decision. That's when all coherent thoughts left him. She licked him. Fuck. Suki. He moans. If a little lick did that much, she wondered what this would do. She takes the tip into her mouth and sucks lightly. Curious, she watches him for his reactions. The results were immediate. He snarled in pleasure and leaned down to hold her head in place. She could tell by the tension in his thighs that he was really holding back from the impulse to thrust into her mouth. He was sensitive. Suki made a note of that. That feels so fucking good. He pants out lustfully. Her mouth was hot and felt so good. Even better when she licked him. Holy shit. What had she just done with her teeth there? It wasn't a bite, but brushing them against the sensitive flesh. He had to hold back from the impulse to fuck her throat raw. Was this how she felt when he licked her down there? Naruto felt a little guilty though. He should be touching her too, but he just couldn't focus and he'd have to really lean over to be able to reach her. It was frustrating. Maybe Suki had a point about the shadow clone thing. Shadow clone jutsu. He says. Naruto, what are you doing? Suki lets go of him long enough to shoot him a puzzled look. Well, it's not fair if you are the only one doing the touching. That and I know this is your fantasy. Don't stop. That feels really good. He arches against her insistently. I never said that it was my fantasy. She says with a blush. You didn't have to. The other Naruto says and kisses her neck, his hands finding her breasts. Alright, maybe I thought about it once or twice. She admits and takes the original Naruto back into her mouth, sucking harder to hide her embarrassment. Gods and goddesses, yes. Naruto groans and thrusts into her mouth. It felt good. His hands on her breasts, mouth against her neck, and hearing him lose control like that. Suki tries to take more of him into her mouth. The brunette was fairly sure that no matter what she did, she'd never be able to take all of him. He was just too big for that. Do you have any idea how hot you look with your mouth wrapped around my cock like that? The clone growls into her ear and parts her thighs. Suki bucked against his hands when they touched her core. Suki. I'm so close. The real Naruto growls out. Suki shivers. Had Naruto, well, the clone actually said that. She felt herself get even more aroused, if that was possible. And you're already so wet. He marvels and rubs her. Suki moans as she sucks harder. God, that felt good. She wanted more. Normally, she'd be embarrassed at being so wanton, but it just lust was overriding her pride. And I remember how sweet you taste. He murmurs approvingly, dipping his head between her thighs and licking her. Naruto. She whimpers and squirms helplessly. It didn't take long for them to both cry out and see stars as their orgasms overtook them. Naruto did manage at the last second to prevent spilling his seed all over Suki. The blonde figured she'd probably kill him if he did. Suki thought, well, the clone held her too firmly down for such an evasion. Okay, no. I think I'm starting to get the clone thing. Naruto tries to catch his breath. Me too. She pants. Suki, maybe I should stop. I mean, this our first time. I know for the woman it can be painful at first. he murmurs. Naruto, I think I have proven more than enough times that I am fully capable of handling you. She mutters in amusement. Yeah, you handle it really well by the way. He says. Good. But I appreciate the concern. She kisses him as she straddles his waist. Any time? He murmurs. She slowly slides onto him. Naruto groans in pleasure. Damn it, this was even better than her mouth. This was heaven. She was so hot, wet, and tight. He felt like they were two puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly. Suki looked so beautiful on top of him. Her dark hair contrasted against her creamy white skin, which was now covered in a rosy pink flush from arousal. The way her back was arched, her gorgeous breasts, those hips of hers, long legs on either side of him. And those ruby red eyes. Beautiful. He'd never seen anything so beautiful or erotic in his entire life. He frowns when he hears her hiss of pain. Damn it. It should feel good for him too. The blonde had traveled enough with Jiraiya to have learned that this was expected. But still. He leans up and kisses her soothingly. His arms wrapped around her protectively, as if trying to shield her from the pain. It's alright. She murmurs, returning his kiss. Thankfully, the pain was already receding to more of a slow burn. She cautiously moved her hips and found that helped. Naruto seemed to like it though because he groaned and instinctively thrusts up into her. He brushed against something. Whatever it was, it felt good. Suki tries to angle herself so he'd hit that spot again and moans when he does. Naruto watches in awe. Suki was a thing of beauty when she threw her head back like that and arched her back in pleasure. She rocks her hips against him encouragingly. He didn't need to be told twice. Naruto growls darkly in satisfaction as he slams into her from underneath her. Fuck. It just felt so good. So hot, wet, and tight. The way she moaned. The way she arched her back. The way she rocked her hips against him, pulling him in deeper. It was all driving him nuts. And Naruto. She screams in his name when the blonde grabbed her by the hips and held her down as he thrust powerfully into his new lover, loving the way she said his name. He tried to touch her everywhere, frantically. Eager to get as much skin-to-skin contact as he could. His hand squeezed her breasts, her ass, caressed her legs. Everywhere he could. Suki seemed just as desperate. She was kissing him like her life depended on it. Her hands trailed over his chest, his arms, and his thighs. He rolls them over. Instinctively, he knew that she was close. Suki came naturally. Competitive. He was worried she might instinctively fight against the mark. He knew it was fighting dirty. But if she was close to orgasm or in the middle of it, maybe she wouldn't fight it. Suki squeaks at the sudden change of position. Naruto stops thrusting though, much to her enjoyment. She felt her thighs quiver, she was so close. Oh, fuck. That felt good. Don't fight me. He tells her. What are you talking about? She asks and then gasps when she feels his teeth on her neck, biting down hard. Those weren't human teeth though. They were too sharp. They pierced through her sensitive flesh like she was made out of butter. She squirms wildly against him when she feels his chakras suddenly racing through her system. It was so warm. So powerful. Like the sun itself was now burning inside her. Insistent. She felt his chakra touch her own. Instinctively, hers tries to back away from him. Shush, it's okay. Just accept it. Accept us. She is vaguely aware of Naruto saying and moans he hits her spot again. Oh god. He was getting really good at that. She leans up to give him a heated kiss, which he returns and holds her firmly against him. His chakra chases after hers, pinning it down. She could feel them merging. It felt so incredible. They were becoming one. Body, mind, and soul. She came with a shout as she heard Naruto join her. End of lemon. How are you feeling? He asks as he nuzzles into her neck after marking her and they both reach their peak. Good. I feel really good. She murmurs. Me too. Naruto smiles. What's it look like? The mark. Just teeth marks. She looks at him curiously. Not sure, let me see. Naruto pulls her hair away from her neck. It's blue and spiral patterned. He observes. That doesn't sound so bad. The last Uchiha whispers. It's really pretty on you. Much better than Orochimaru's seal. The blonde smiles smugly. Suki makes a quiet amused sound. It might have been a snort. But it was hard to tell really. Of course everything looks pretty on you. He adds. You just want to get laid again. Suki smirks. Well yeah, but it's still the truth. The blonde replies. We really should have done this sooner. I think we have some lost time to make up for. She purrs and sits in his lap, grinding against him. Yeah. I do too. He moans and grinds back. The rest of the night was spent in the heat of passion. Suki lost count of how many positions they had tried. Eventually, she drifts off to sleep in his arms. She slept with a smile on her face. He smiles and traces the mark in the morning. Naruto felt a surge of pride and lust every time he saw it. She was his. Suki might not have said she loved him, but he knew that she did. She never would have submitted to him in that way if she didn't or asked him to give her a child. Forget one kid. We can have 12 if she wants. He kisses the mark. That was amazing. He had thought her hand on him was amazing, but that was nothing. That was just an appetizer. The whole meal. Though. Wow. Mine. He caresses the sleeping beauty next to him. He didn't know how he was ever going to manage to keep his hands off of her again. So yeah, he'd give her as many kids as she wanted. The idea was appealing to him more and more. He liked kids. Naruto had just never really thought about having his own before. He'd been so busy chasing after Suki that he had no thoughts about the future other than getting her back. Just hadn't happened. Now though, he had time to think about it. He wondered if it would be a boy or a girl. Blonde like him or black-haired like Suki's side of the family. Quiet, intelligent, and introverted like Suki. Maybe they'd be extroverted, loud, and full of energy like him. Maybe a mixture. While Naruto was musing about the possibility of fatherhood, the council was doing their best to prevent that from happening. They had called an emergency meeting. The rumors of Naruto and Suki were being spread like wildfire through the Leaf Village and were now starting to spread to other ninja villages. It is possible that they are just pretending. They have to be married in name after all. Perhaps they are just putting on a show for the public. One suggests. That's plausible. Even more so is the chance they are merely doing it to irritate us. They might not even be sharing a bed in reality. Another nods in agreement. We can't take that chance. Which is why I have taken the liberty of putting some precautions in place. Still another interrupts them. What did you do? They ask. I merely laced the well water in the Uchiha district with a chemical that is designed to prevent pregnancy. It is colorless, tasteless, and doesn't carry a scent. He explains. That's brilliant. But. Does it have other health effects? If she grows sick. Naruto will grow suspicious and so will Kakashi. He warns. No. It doesn't. It also has the benefit of being temporary in nature. You never know when a leaf might need the added strength that more Sharingan's wielders. He says. Good point. I don't trust the Uchiha bitch, but that's no reason not to take advantage of every weapon in our arsenal if it comes to it. I doubt that alliance with the other ninja villages will last. The female council member points out. Exactly. He agrees. In the morning, Suki wakes up to the scent of smoke. Immediately alert, she rushes to the kitchen. She blinks. It looked like Naruto had tried to cook breakfast and failed miserably. Aw damn it. I wanted to surprise you with breakfast in bed. He says. That's very romantic, Naruto. Cooking just isn't your thing though. She kisses his forehead. Yeah. I guess not. I did manage to make scrambled eggs though. Naruto rubs the back of his head sheepishly. Good enough. Suki smiles. You know, if you are going to prance around naked, I'm not going to let you leave the house. He warns her. I smelled smoke. Didn't have time to get dressed. Suki cries when Naruto sits down and pulls her into his lap. Who says I want you to get dressed? He kisses her. Good point. But really, I should. Kakashi says he has a mission for me and. We are getting low on food. She replies. Who needs food? The blonde squeezes her ass. I think I've created a monster. She muses. Maybe a little. Naruto runs his hand along her mark. She shivers. It looked like Mark was sensitive. She should have seen that coming. So I'll be back a little later. Hopefully, it's not an overnight mission. Suki nods at him reassuringly. It better not be. The blonde says with a growl. Definitely created a monster, but I kinda like it. She kisses his cheek, steals some breakfast, and changes. Maybe I'll hang out with Gaara while you go see what Kakashi wants. Naruto shrugs when Suki comes back, wearing her Jonin outfit. Try not to traumatize him too much. She smirks. I wasn't going to tell him what happened. Well, okay, maybe a little, but not the details. I mean just that I marked you. Naruto blushes deeply. It's fine, Naruto. He's your friend. Gaara's. Sorta my friend, I guess. You know, in a weird way. The fact that I don't have the urge to kill him has to be a good sign. She adds as an afterthought. Suki, that is a disturbingly low bar for friendship. Naruto points out. I know. She admits. Well, I guess not wanting to kill someone is a start. I'll see you later. Naruto says. Suki says and goes to Kakashi's office. Suki, are you alright? The silver-haired ninja looks at her in concern a few minutes later. Yeah. I'm fine. Why? She questions. You're walking with a bit of a limp there. The Hokage observes. Oh? That. Never mind, what's the mission? She feels her face heat up at the question as she remembers the night before. I take it you and Naruto are getting along much better now that you can actually act on all that sexual tension that has built up over the years. He chuckles. Kakashi. Suki glowers at him. Right. That was unprofessional of me. Sorry. I still think of you two as those genin that were always fighting about everything. I want you to go to the hospital. Sakura's going to start training you in the basics of medicine. Kakashi states. Wait, what? Suki looks at him in an utterly baffled way. It would probably go a long way toward soothing the council's fears if they saw you using your talents to heal instead of solely for destruction. He explains. Alright, I guess. It'll be useful to know anyway. I really should probably treat Karen as a human chew toy. She adds as an afterthought. Yes, that would be good. Kakashi rubs the back of his head sheepishly and chuckles nervously. Suki heads to the hospital. She finds Sakura easily enough. That pink hair really stood out. How the hell was she ever supposed to stay hidden on a mission with that hair? Suki didn't know. Anyway, hey, Kakashi wants me to start learning some medical basics. She says. I know. I'm sure you'll be great at it. You have good chakra control, and the Sharingan should make learning the seals easier. Sakura smiles brightly at her. Yeah, finally a useful mission. Suki shrugs, feeling less than enthusiastic about the whole ordeal. You alright? You're limping. Sakura blinks. Is the limp really that obvious? She sighs, wondering if maybe she should have just played sick. Not really. I'm a medical ninja. I'm trained to notice stuff like that. The reasons. Oh good. Because it's going to get really annoying if everyone keeps asking that. The last Uchiha shakes her head. What's on your neck? The medic sounds positively scandalized. Damn it. I really need to go back to the high collars. Suki sighs. Seriously, what is that? You got a tattoo on your neck? You know that's really dangerous. You have a major artery by that. Sakura scolds her. It's not a tattoo. It's a Kyuubi thing. Naruto says it's the demonic version of a wedding ring, I guess. She sighs and begins to explain about the mark, leaving out the submitting part. Oh. Wow. I guess it makes sense that demons would have their own way of doing things. Did it hurt? She asks. No. It didn't. Suki shakes her head. So that and the limp. Did you too? You know. The green-eyed woman tilts her head in shock. You mean were we intimate? Sakura, you are a medical ninja. You can say it. Suki rolls her eyes at Sakura's bashfulness. Yeah. That. Her teammate nods her head vigorously. Yes. A few times actually. Naruto's always been energetic. She blushes slightly. Oh. Wow. Did you two use the jutsu or anything? The medic questions. No. I want to restore my clan and Naruto. He's willing to help. Mostly to make me happy, I think. But he's always been really good with kids. He acts like one most of the time. Suki smiles fondly. Well, doesn't sound like he was acting like a kid last night. Sakura smiled slyly. Oh, he was definitely all man last night. Suki agrees without any hesitation. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoy it. If you want the next part of this video, turn on that bell notification. Like, subscribe and comment down below. And also check out the others videos I have created and enjoyed it. See you guys next video.